Welcome in, McElroy and Kublik in the morning. It is Wednesday, May 21st, live on Jocks 94.5. Watch us live on YouTube. Listen, jocksfm.com. Tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill. A lot of ways to listen. Glad you're with us. We have more lists to get to today. Bruce Feldman is going to join us at 9 o'clock to discuss the top 25 players of the 2000s. Top of the list is going to be heated for a lot of folks.
Oh, boy.
Chris Burke will talk SEC baseball tournament at 7:20. Some shifts in the SEC baseball tournament schedule because of inclement weather last night that was potentially going to come through. I'm not sure how bad it was at Hoover. We didn't get much rain at my house. But it did look like it was going to come through for a while.
Right.
So you kind of have to go ahead and take those precautions. Go ahead and get set. Game 4 was postponed yesterday. And that will be played this morning, which will bump Auburn's first game back to Thursday morning. So that'll be the new schedule, as yesterday Alabama takes out Mizzou 4-1. Oklahoma takes out Kentucky 5-1. Florida smashes South Carolina 11-3. 5-year-old became a Florida fan last night.
Oh, boy. For the time being.
Just for that game. Correct. Yeah. Once Florida got up, he was a Florida fan. Alabama gets Tennessee at 1 today. Oklahoma gets the 5 seed Georgia today at 4:30. And then Florida will get the 7 seed Ole Miss at 8 tonight, which moves Mississippi State, Texas A&M to 9:30 this morning. The winner of that game will play Auburn at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we get going again at 9:30 today. Weather's already affected the SEC baseball tournament and doesn't feel like it's going to be too disruptive because I think they've allowed for this and kind of looked at this. And now with single elimination, I don't think it's as big of a deal as it has been in the past.
No.
But, hey, Bama advances yesterday. That's good news for potentially hosting this upcoming college baseball tournament.
And need probably at least one more win to feel good about hosting a regional. I think pretty good shape at the moment, but another win could potentially secure that. A win against Tennessee, one more win in addition to that, I feel like would all but lock things up. Yesterday was a good game. Went back and watched it actually last night with Vince. It was fun. Honestly, pretty manageable opponent. No one's getting beyond that, but the single elimination makes things kind of interesting. I do think it's going to have an overall impact on the gate, an overall impact on the experience, but I do think that it's kind of a cool way of handling their business. They've played a lot of games, like one game single elimination, 15 games overall is, I think, kind of exciting. I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, like I always like, we love game 7. We love do or die. We love overtime. I mean, that's part of sports that I think we all get into and that we all like, that we all enjoy. So you like that pressure. You like the fact that win or go home. It's kind of like last night. I'm watching T-Wolves Thunder and blowout. Thunder, especially late, just looked great. And you're thinking, okay, well, you go back tomorrow night, T-Wolves could even it up, and here we go. Hit the reset button. We start over again. It's not near as bad. But I think we love that. We love that pressure. We love the fact that, and now on the flip side of that, yeah, you can have a bad game. You can have a bad outing. Your bats can go cold. You don't love the fact that you may go home because of that. But I think that extra pressure and the extra attention to it because of what it is becomes a little bit better. So I think it's going to be a fun tournament to watch. We'll have Chris Burke on 7:20 to discuss it and get us set up for today, which again is going to begin at 9:30. We have a lot to get to in college football. There's news all over the place. You had a chance recently to sit down with Kalen DeBoer on your podcast, and you talked about a couple of different things, what Ryan Grubb's going to bring, the quarterback situation. What were some of your biggest takeaways from your visit with Kalen?
Well, it was from a while ago. So I probably, I think it was released Monday, but it was done a couple weeks back. And I think the biggest takeaway is his comfort level in year 2 at Alabama. I think that's the biggest key, is the comfort level, how much he understands the roster, the connection he has to the roster. That's big. I do think the addition of Ryan Grubb has made him more comfortable. I think last year, not that he didn't trust Nick Sheridan. I think he loves Nick Sheridan. I think he thinks the world of Nick Sheridan. But there is a way with Ryan Grubb in which they can complete each other's sentences. They've been together for 25 years.
Yep.
I mean, that is just, I mean, they're best friends. So having your best friend, your confidant, the guy that's been through everything with you at every level of the sport, I think is pretty remarkable. They only had, 1 or 2 years when they weren't together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that him now having Ryan Grubb as that sounding board and a guy to kind of bounce things off of. He has total trust in the rest of the team as well and the rest of the coaching staff. But I think Kalen last year was forced to play the good cop and the bad cop from time to time. This year, if he's in a bad mood or if he's ripping somebody, Grubb can be the happy guy, the good cop. If Grubb's ripping somebody, Kalen can be and I think that dynamic is extremely beneficial. So I think it's big that he was adding just another guy to the staff, and I just think Kalen's more comfortable as a result of Grubb being there.
This is what Kalen DeBoer told you about bringing Ryan Grubb in as his new OC.
There's a trust. There's a trust you have, and that's really what, I think you asked what he brings and how we move forward. There's a trust that I have with him, but there's also some continuity that he has with other coaches on our staff, with Nick Sheridan. And I know that's been helpful for Ryan to speed up his process of getting to know our personnel. The why, why did we do this? Why did we do that a year ago when you're reviewing the film? And then also Jamarcus Shepard, and just that's an integral kind of threesome right there that have been together for a few years and, speak the same language as well.
First off, I don't think Jamarcus Shepard gets enough credit.
Yeah, right.
We love Ryan Grubb, and I love Ryan Grubb. Seeing Kalen and Grubb together, talking to them both in the same room was a lot of fun. It's really cool. I think bringing in a former offensive line coach to be your offensive coordinator, as we talked last year, there were times when that identity was not ground and pound. It was not, let's see if we can push these people and lean on them. It would become that for a series or a half or a quarter,
right,
or 2 series, but it was never, we're going into this game to do this and there's nothing you can do about it. It became it over time in certain games. I think Grubb will have a better understanding of, we can do this. We can be this.
Right.
We're going to get away with this. And that's how we're going to go win the game. Just because that's his mentality. That's what it's always been. And I think Kalen's okay with that. Kalen likes that.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it'll show up a little bit more often. But
I think I'm having a hard time, though, because I feel like the excitement that everybody has surrounding Ryan Grubb is almost serving as a sticking point to Nick Sheridan and or to Jamarcus Shepard, like we talked about. It almost is like, well, those guys can't coach. That is the farthest thing from the truth. Those guys, I think, did a really good job with the circumstances they were dealt last year. Nick Sheridan had to call plays with a bunch of real average wide receivers and one really big time dude, and a guy that had never been the featured guy before. Those receivers that all left, it's not like they went to Oregon, Texas, and Georgia. Like, a lot of those guys ended up in places where they're going to be good players, but they're at Baylor and they're at Kentucky and they're fine players, but they're not freaks of nature.
Well, let's be honest. Like, one of them is, but not as a receiver. Like Kendrick Law was, but not catching the football. He was a freak of nature blocking people, which is great. It's a nice to have.
It's amazing.
It's not the end all be all need to have to make you very different at that position. It's great for screens. It's great situationally, but it's not the one thing that you look for on an every down, every series basis to say, this makes us a lot different than you at wide receiver, and you're not going to be able to deal with us. I love watching Kendrick Law play football. I need guys that can go catch the football first.
You can be a great football player and not a great receiver.
He doesn't change what the defense does. Is that fair?
I'm not sitting there as a defensive coordinator burning chalk on figuring out how to slow down Kendrick Law. That's no disrespect. And by the way, Kobe Prentice is a good player, but he's at Baylor now. I mean, it's no disrespect. But if these guys were as good as people think they were, they'd be at Texas, Oregon, and Georgia or Ohio State, but they're not. Caleb Downs, when he left, where'd he go? Ohio State. Who wanted him? Everybody. Kobe Prentice at Baylor. Kendrick Law's at Kentucky. Good players, solid players, but I do think the offensive staff had one arm tied behind their back last year because they just didn't have the personnel that I think people think they had if you look exclusively at the recruiting rankings. So I think that the addition of Grubb People have just acted, and I just want to make sure the air is clear on this. Nick Sheridan and Jamarcus Shepard did a good job with very little last year. Their quarterback was inconsistent emotionally and physically. Their quarterback wanted to, do everything himself. Their offensive line was inconsistent, especially the right side, and frankly, at times, the left side as well. Their receivers were substandard, not subpar, substandard, compared to what Alabama's had in the past. And I think their running backs didn't get enough touches. So I think the offense stats did a good job, but it does help to have an extra set of eyes, an extra set of experienced eyes that know how it's supposed to look, that has NFL experience, that will create additional, just additional credibility in the room.
Also, per Adam Schefter yesterday, speaking to Jalen Milroe, signed a 4-year, $6.26 million contract with the Seattle Seahawks. So that is done. But back to Jamarcus Shepard, wide receiver coaches, I think.
Hardest job. I think it is. O-line's close. But O-line.
Well, listen where I was going to go first.
O-line kind of polices itself a little better than the receiver room.
Not a little. Not a little. A lot. I think, but would you agree that O-line coaches, for the most part, are more carbon copies of one another from the East Coast to the West Coast? For the most part.
They all walk with a limp, and they all chew Red Man Golden Blend, and they all hit me on a hop.
Wear sweat jackets to practice to try to lose weight because they don't want to work out.
I mean, yeah. Yes, the stereotypical if you're asking the question, are offensive line coaches easily stereotyped? The answer is yes.
Yeah, and mostly miserable. Yes, yes. That's them. Now, I think receiver coaches are the most unique / different across the board than any other set of coaches. Like because we've talked about this, your running back coach or your tight end coach usually is your best recruiter, because let's just be honest, those positions, number one, you're dealing with fewer numbers, and it requires a little bit less from probably a knowledge or technique standpoint. Like
they also are going to coach special teams. Like one of those two guys coaches special teams. The other guy's going to be a recruiting coordinator.
And now we've moved into where usually, and I've heard head coaches have told me this, the tight ends coach is kind of your offensive coordinator in waiting, which now you'll get tight end coach, pass game coordinator, tight end coach, run game coordinator, whatever it is. But receiver coaches can be like the happy-go-lucky fun guy, hang out with everybody.
Right.
They can be the in-your-face, they can be the, hey, relationship, coddle you guy, great recruiter guy.
Yeah.
There's some that are very technically driven, but very few are no nonsense, don't put up with anything, will get in your face at all times, expect more physically, mentally, emotionally, like this guy does. And I think it needs to be appreciated a little bit more because most people don't see him operate. I have seen him operate.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
And he gets after you, and I appreciate that. And that's a position that needs it.
Yep.
Let's be real. At most schools, most places, most teams in general, high school, middle school, college, NFL, that's a room that needs more people to get after him. Now, how that goes over depends on the guys.
Yes.
But he's not going to care about it. He's going to try to get after his guys and try to get more out of them. And I think that it deserves a little bit more appreciation because people just don't really talk about him that way.
I think he's the best receiver coach that I've been around as far as just the details. Now, I haven't been around Brian Hartline, and I haven't been around a couple of these other guys that are known, highly regarded wide receiver coaches. I think Shepard's is about as good as I've seen. I think he's that good. Just really appreciate how he approaches it. That is a diva room. It's a bunch of Ferraris. Let's keep things in mind. I think that's the best part about the offensive line room versus the receiver room. In the receiver room, you have Ferrari, Maserati, and Porsche. In the offensive line, you have Ferrari, F-350, Chevy Silverado.
Tesla? Tesla? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Give me the O-line room Ferrari that ever was.
Oh, I can think of a few.
Tell me.
Willie Colon.
Not Ferrari, no. Like at least like...
I'm not talking body types. I'm talking personality types.
There are more leaning sports car personalities in that room now than there have been.
100%. I
still wouldn't go there.
I'm not talking physical attributes.
What's the SUV that all the Georgia guys drive? The Hellcat, whatever it's, Durango, something.
Police cruiser?
John.
Jeez.
No, there's one. The Dodge has an SUV that goes like 180 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Let's at least go with that.
No.
You can't give them a car they can't fit in.
Yeah, you can. 100%. No, and I do think that when you have a bunch of personalities,
you have your 1985 GMC,
100%.
Doesn't have power windows.
Trailblazer. Yeah, you have a Chevy Trailblazer. There's a couple of those. You have a Bronco with no doors. And then you have the one guy that kind of wishes he was skinny. That guy drives the
he's a sports car.
That guy drives a sports car for sure. Okay. Stick shift though. So there's personalities, but I think the personalities in the wide receiver room are the most challenging to engage with. These guys are all narcissistic, not all, but most. They have this walk on water internal mentality, which by the way is 100% necessary to play the position. They believe they're open on every play. They could be double covered, and 95% of the time they're like, you could have fit it in there.
Just like DBs, when you literally can show them film of them getting beat, and they can come up with 57 excuses as to why it happened, and still tell you they're the best there ever was.
100%. It never fails.
You have to think that way.
Richard Sherman never played a man coverage snap in his career and had Earl Thomas patrolling over the top, but he claimed he was the best corner in the game and believed it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I think that room is very hard to engage with, because if you spend too much time with one guy, the other guy's feelings get hurt. And then you're too hard on this guy, and the other guys are like, oh, why is he hard on him? Yeah, coach is a jerk. Like all that. I mean, it's a tough position group to coach.
It is. All right, we'll come back to that conversation, and in some parts of it, there was one thing that you just said right there that did not have to do with receivers or offensive linemen. That
Should
I
we go
bring
through
up
your offensive line room and go through what type of car they were?
We can. And we did have a sports car. Yes,
definitely
Marcus
did.
Curry, 100%.
He was a sports car. What kind?
He wore bow ties to Tiger Walk.
Kappa?
I'd have to send a text out on that, I think.
A safe bet. If he's wearing bow ties, safe bet.
But he was 335 pounds.
Doesn't matter.
I was like, D. Curry, you can't. He wore like vests under his sport coat.
Well, the vest is just an extra layer to keep the stomach in.
But I'm just saying, like nobody else over 200 was doing that.
I don't know a lot of guys wearing 3-piece suits that are under 200.
Oh, we had a few. Maybe not 3-piece, but we had some zoot suits.
We definitely did.
To call them out in the media.
We definitely did. We had one guy that wore a Louis Vuitton suit head to toe, and it was like electric blue, and he wore it on 3 road
Drake
games.
Kirkpatrick?
No. I'm like, dude, is that real Louis? He goes, no, but don't tell anybody. I was like, oh, you don't say. You mean Louis doesn't make an electric blue fabric to make a suit out of? His car was also Louis.
Hell yeah.
It had a Louis Vuitton paint job. Also, they don't make car wraps. Louis doesn't.
You sure? I've seen a few of them out there.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
I've seen a couple boxers who have.
It was probably the coolest
Louis
car.
Lamborghinis.
It was the coolest car in the lot. He probably had 26s and Louis Vuitton paint job. Now there were holes.
A Charger?
No.
This is pre-Charger.
This car had to have been from 1987. But the paint job was fire and the rims were amazing.
It's the only thing that can make it better.
It was awesome. No, it wasn't. But it was a great ride.
John, how bad were Fieros? Y'all aren't even part of this conversation.
I rode in a Geo Metro, so as bad as the Fiero was, it could have been worse.
My best friend, one of my 2 best friends in high school, his name was Chris Benton. He lived in the apartments next to mine, and we both played football, both played baseball, so we rode together a lot of different places. He was in high school. If I was 6'2", 6'3", between 255, 270
over.
He was 6'3", 10, 15 pounds lighter, 10 pounds, 5 pounds lighter. We were both big dudes. His mom had a Geo Metro and carried us to many events. Both.
Love that.
You just wonder how it made it. Like, how did that thing not just literally stick to the ground.
Doesn't matter.
Though. I think the only thing worse than the Fiero was the tracker.
Wait.
Whew.
Wait,
Again,
what?
a Geo.
Geo tracker.
Oh, Geo tracker.
Google that.
Yeah, I know that one.
SUV version.
I've seen a
And then
Fiero
the Suzuki
before.
Samurai came around, which was the Panama City version of the Geo tracker.
That one Samurai could not cut. No.
I just remember when I was a kid, and I didn't know it at the time because you didn't realize what people were trying to do as they got older. When you were 8, 9, 10, whatever, the people rolling around in those Fieros, they thought they were Tom Selleck.
Yeah,
100%. They thought they were Magnum PI rolling through Birmingham in a Fiero.
Yeah.
Tell me what the
that
problem
thing
is.
probably cost what, 17,000?
They were probably more like Higgins, but yes.
Yeah. There's a Fiero factory in North Alabama.
All these references are over my head.
That's why we just left you out of the conversation.
I just want to know what you're talking about.
The Fiero was it's basically the Miata of the 80s.
Mazda Miata?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had an
Pontiac Fiero.
You had an offensive lineman that drove this?
No, I was saying your buddy that had the Louis Vuitton wrap, if that would have been a Fiero, would have been the only thing that made it better.
Gotcha.
Just Google Pontiac Fiero and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh, gotcha.
It's bad.
I'm in.
It's really bad.
You got my attention.
Okay. And the weather should have your attention, just like yesterday. In, out, up, down. The weather's going to be here. It's not going to be here. It's going to rain for a minute, then it doesn't. That's why you need the reliability of a Train, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. And right now, you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Train home comfort systems. Find out more at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. We'll be back with Chris Burke to talk SEC baseball tournament next on Jocks 94.5. All right, welcome back here. McElroy and Kubelik in the morning as we continue our discussion of Fieros during the break. I'm trying to think of what the best car and the worst car was in our parking lot. I think Heath Evans might have had the best car. He had like a brand new Tahoe, and this is the old Tahoe body style.
Yeah.
So it looked like the GMC or Chevrolet pickup with like a all glass camper on the back.
Really? I think I can visualize that.
This is the best Tahoe body style. They've ever
All
had.
glass?
It looked like the pickup, but then just a glass
No, I got
camper
you.
on the back.
I gotcha.
It was a good looking Tahoe.
I've never seen that.
Black with like wheels, and he had the big tires and whatnot.
I need to get back to like 90s car look. I feel like the square bodies are coming back, like 90s.
A little bit.
But
and then the worst would be Hart McGarry. He had a
minivan?
No. It was the worst and maybe kind of the best at the same time.
Yeah.
What was the old Dodge Giant SUV?
A Dodge Durango.
No, before that. This is the full size.
Gosh.
I can't remember what they called it. It was basically like their Tahoe, but it was a Dodge. And he had a
Ooh, the 2025 Durango.
He had like
sweet.
a
Is this
metal.
real?
First off, his front bumper was like steel and came out like a foot and a half from the thing. And then it had, that metal that's like X all the way down. It's like you use it as like a gate or a fence.
Yeah.
It's not a fence though, but the front of his like brush guard was made of that. It had that. I'll put it this way. There were many a night that he would ram dumpsters in parking lots and they would slide like 20 or 30 yards down the pavement.
That sounds
we got a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Sounds like a fun activity.
It's a lot more fun than you'd imagine.
We're revisiting this topic of conversation.
We'll come back to this. Chris Burke joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. Do you remember what the old Dodge SUV was? The big one, the full size one, Chris?
Like the Durango?
No, it was like 80s or 90s. It was before the Durango.
Was it a Ram Charger?
May have. That sounds possibly right. Here it is, right here. I don't know if they're going to give us the name of it though. I lost you there. Sorry about that one. All right.
Sorry, but hello. Good morning.
Good to have you. Rolling right into that conversation. Ram Charger. Yeah, that was it. I just found a photograph of it. You got it.
We're back.
Nice call, man.
Okay, so you the tournament shifted just a little bit already, but we do know some of the matchups we're going to get today. Alabama advances over Missouri. Missouri, worst team in the league. But now they get Tennessee. Can you kind of preview that matchup for us a little bit today and what Alabama fans should expect?
I think it's going to be a fascinating one. These two teams played a very tightly contested series on the front end way back what feels like years ago. I think it's a little bit maybe of a elimination game for hosting. Bama's got a hosting resume in some aspects. And oddly enough, Tennessee does too. Now Tennessee's, lost 5 series in a row to finish the season, which is almost hard to verbalize because it's just so out of character with where this team has been and what it feels like they're capable of. But it's true. But if you zoom out and take away some of the context of the specifics of their series and the trends and those kinds of things, they both have what would normally be hosting resume. I mean, they're both a couple games over 500 in the league, and they both have a top 15 RPI. So I think it's an interesting game. I think those two and Ole Miss and Florida to a certain degree, which is kind of cool because they all play each other today, could still be on the backside of the hosting conversation. So I think the bigger picture is that. And then if you're talking about stars, I mean, we're going to open the broadcast today with LeBron and Andrew Fisher. Andrew Fisher is probably the most under the radar best hitter in the league this year. He leads the league in, if you're talking about all games, not just conference games, but all games, he leads the league in homers, walks, OBP, OPS, and he's reached base safely in every single game of the season, which is pretty impressive. And then for my money, I mean, we were talking about it last night at dinner. Justin LeBron, Alabama's shortstop, for me, is right up there in the Dansby Swanson, Alex Bregman talent at that position that I've seen since I've been doing this, which is since 2012. So, that's how talented Justin LeBron is. Now, you'd have to do pretty well to have the career that those two guys have had. But if you're just looking at them as college shortstops, like Justin LeBron is as talented as any shortstop we've had in this league in a long, long time. So I think that in and of itself is always a reason to watch an Alabama game.
Yeah, he's amazing. My son actually drew a picture of him last night. He was so inspired. And it's actually pretty good. He drew the pinstripes and everything, which for a 6-year-old, I felt good about it. The pinstripes were moderately straight. Berkey, I don't want any bias coming out of the broadcast from you today. All right. So let's keep it professional. Yeah. I know that you will. Obviously joking aside, but everybody always seems to tell people that when they're calling their alma mater's games. I'm not sure why.
You've never heard that.
No, I've never heard. I heard it from Cole during the Iron Bowl. I mean, it's unbelievable. A guy in the profession. But I think it's going to be great. So far, the single elimination, I think, has been kind of fun. I know we're early in it. I do feel like the gate yesterday was somewhat impacted, but maybe that has to do with the fact that games are starting at 9:30 local. But how so far, just one day in, do you feel about single elimination?
Maybe I can hop back on Friday and give you a better feel for it. I'm not sure. I do think that over the last few years, this event has become a little less about your team winning and a little more about just the event itself. And so I do feel like the biggest and most intense SEC baseball fans just to come. They would certainly prefer their team to stay all week, but they really just want to be here because it is such a great event. And in addition to that, I feel like the team, the last couple of weeks of the season, that every year the narrative is, we're going to save our pitching and we're going to rest and we're going to, mail it in at the tournament. And then everybody gets here and it's such a great event and they do such a good job of making this thing feel special, the league, that I feel like the coaches and the players always underestimate how much they eventually want to stay once they're here. And so, I think Tennessee's going to throw 3 of their best bullets today against Alabama. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama has a chance to win the game late. They're going to probably run Osmer back out there again. And I think this deal is you could easily look at it outside of being here and call it something less than what it is. But I think we see this every year at the basketball tournament. It's easy to say, people's resumes are they're already in the bag and, don't get hurt, blah, 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 blah. And then every year teams get there and they get here and there's an intensity about it that's hard to place unless you're actually at the event. And so I think like all years, it'll really pick up steam as the week goes on and teams are going to try to win a trophy and put their name in the record book. Cause that's, at the end of the day, this is a championship. They are handing out a trophy. And I think all these coaching staffs and players are wired to try to win those things.
Chris Burke of the SEC Network joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're talking SEC baseball tournament, which continues today at 9:30 a.m. That the rain had moved some things around, weather has affected things. It feels like that was sort of built in, so it's not going to be a massive shift. However, Auburn goes a day later. Mississippi State A&M go a day later. Is there a team of what happened last night with the postponement that greatly benefited or greatly worked against with how they will play, when they will play, who they will play?
Well, first of all, let me start out by saying there was no weather last night. I don't know what happened there, bro, but I've been doing this tournament a very long time, and the amount of weather that we've played through and played around has been insane. And last night was one of the most gorgeous evenings I've ever experienced in Hoover. And for some reason, there wasn't baseball. I'll try to move on. I was having a hard time last night figuring that one out. Anyway, I would just say right out of the gate, Texas A&M playing this morning, they were going to start Weston Moss, and we got a note this morning that they're going to start Ryan Prager instead. So look no further than to the first game today to see how that's impacting people and how they're using their pitching. Now, Weston Moss has been really good for Texas A&M, and Ryan Prager's been kind of up and down, if we're being honest. Now, he's their number one starter and their veteran guy, so I'm sure they love that they're sending him out there. But, you never know if that actually ends up helping them or if that'll be a bad thing. You just never know. So we'll see. But, yeah, I do think, Cole, that the net effect of them not playing last night, meaning the league, is everybody has a little more, or the teams that got pushed back today, Auburn, as you mentioned, they get a little more flexibility with how they're going to handle their pitching because it's another day's rest.
So is it kind of for every team and the coaches that you've talked to, are they going into it with kind of an all hands on deck mentality each and every day? And hey, let's just get through today and survive until tomorrow. How is it kind of working out, and what has kind of universally been the decisions being made by coaches to see how they handle their staff?
Well, it's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. I do think one of the storylines here every year that maybe I feel like we talk a lot about on TV, but maybe the fans don't fully grasp is this is the most heavily scouted event of the year for college baseball. And so I think a lot of these coaches prioritize getting their draft-eligible pitchers on the mound, and they want to win the games, and they play to win the games. But, Tony Vitello, and again, two things can be true. They can be the pitchers that make most sense for Tony Vitello to pitch today, and it can also be great opportunities for all three of them to put their best foot forward a few months before a couple weeks, really. I guess it's 6 weeks or so before the draft. So I think Tennessee's going to throw Marcus Phillips, A.J. Russell, and Nate Snead, which are all junior pitchers who could go in the top, 50 to 100 picks. So I do think we've seen in the past some coaches, and in a single elimination tournament, obviously there's a little more urgency to do so. They do want to get some of their biggest prospects opportunities to get out there on that mound. And I think we're getting Riley Quick from Alabama, even though I haven't seen that for sure. And that's another name, if you're a Bama fan listening to the show, like Riley Quick has been a mover here the last month or so. He's got some draft buzz. So there's going to be some arm talent on the bump today in that game for sure.
Absolutely. Hewitt-Trussville native. Obviously, brother Pierce played football at Alabama as well. I know the Quick family, proud of him. So we appreciate you hopping on today, giving us a little preview of what's going to come today, the next few days of the SEC baseball tournament. I will say this. My wife asked me about the weather, I think at about 6 o'clock last night. It was while we were at dinner. And I looked at the radar, and I said, it looks like about 10:05. We're going to get hit pretty hard, but shouldn't last very long. Before we went to bed, she said, have you checked the weather again and just looked? And there was literally not a drop of rain coming near our home. I don't know what happened, how that happened, what went wrong, what changed, but it did show that it was going to hit. And then a couple hours later showed nothing was going to be there. So I have no explanation for that, but as confused as you were.
Well, the format, I think this year made them feel like they don't need to hurry because it's not 4 games every day for the first 3 or 4 days. They felt like they had space, and they didn't want to get a team out there and have to call them off. So I think they felt like they had space, but it's nobody's fault. It clearly looked like it was going to rain, but the fact that they called it that early was unusual. I'll say that.
Absolutely. All right. Appreciate you hopping on, Chris. Enjoy the rest of the tournament, man. Always good stuff.
All right. Always fun, guys. Later.
All right. That's Chris Burke of the SEC Network talking SEC baseball on the Higginbotham Hotline. Alabama, Tennessee today, Greg. It's a big one.
Big one. It should be fun too. And knowing that there's something on the line with the possibility of hosting a regional is massive. So look forward to it. Should be a fun and an exciting game, and obviously rivalry. The third Saturday in October of baseball.
Some of you may be looking forward to feeling.
Do you agree
better.
with that?
Yes. If you need to call it that, go for it. Also, the Alabama's number one rival. So have at it.
Third Saturday in October of baseball.
Yeah, that too. Just go ahead and say it's their number one rival and all the other things.
They are our number one rival for sure.
Great. Your CBD store now has products to help you with arthritis, anxiety, better sleep, better focus, weight loss, the Trim by SunMed on the shelves. at your CBD store, the largest brick and mortar CBD retailer in the world, first company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements, gut health, skincare for you or your pet. A lot of different ways that your CBD store can help not only you, but those in your home. They want to help your daily routine. Check out one of their 3 locations. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trussell just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. There was something that Greg McElroy said when we were discussing vehicles in the first segment of the show. So I want to ask the question, could you right now, if your life depended on it, do something that he brought up? I'll tell you what it is, and we'll find out if we could next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. Greg asked an interesting question why did we come back to this, by the way?
It was
We're talking 80s and 90s?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We'll go with that.
Greg, have you ever heard Nightmare on My Street?
No.
Unfortunate.
Man, the rap game back then was so advanced.
Well, this one knew who he was attempting to appeal to, so I wouldn't necessarily reference this the rap game. This was the I want to be successful in pop culture game, and some of it was good, some of it wasn't. This one not great, but I'll tell you what, it hit. I bet he got a large, significant check, and then subsequent, fairly large checks afterwards.
Was this Fresh Prince?
Yes,
remake.
This is also the reason we got the show, Fresh Prince. Because he got that check and forgot to pay Uncle Sam. So they came calling. So he needed money.
We got to think of something. You said when we were talking about Fieros and Miatas and other vehicles from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, you brought this up. And I would like for Damien to come sit in here for a moment as well, because I want to ask him this question. And you said out loud something about driving a stick shift.
Yes.
And I found that interesting because I have not heard anybody reference that in quite some time. Now, I will say this. Growing up, my mother had a Volkswagen Jetta and a Mazda 626 for the majority of my youth. Both stick shifts, by the way.
Both of them?
I learned how to drive on a stick shift, not necessarily with her in the car. But there were many nights that vehicle may have been driven and the knowledge of driving a stick shift had to have been obtained somehow, some way. And it was.
It's a feel thing.
Doesn't mean it went smooth. May have been some peeling out late nights around Homewood, Alabama.
On purpose?
No. Specifically at red lights on hills. So I'll ask you this.
Uphill is tough.
We're on a steep hill. We're on a red light. You're in a stick shift. Your life depends on it. Not stalling out and not peeling out the tires to get through the red light once it turns green. Could you do it?
How steep's the hill?
Steep.
So basically,
I'm thinking the one we had some problems with was if you head up over the mountain, Green Springs, and go up mountain the other way, those red lights there were a problem.
I could see that. I think I could do it. I have not driven stick shift.
There would be no before you got going?
I have not driven a stick shift since my honeymoon, and don't intend on starting anytime recently. So it's been a while. I'm probably a little rusty, so I'm going to go ahead and say I would probably have a few stalls.
And it depends on the vehicle too, because some like the clutch had to be all the way down.
Some are a little bit easier.
Some the clutch was a little easier. Yeah,
you got it. But I'm having never driven this vehicle.
Yeah, you got to feel because it was a feeling out process.
Yes, having never driven this vehicle, getting in it and having to make it up that road as my first attempt. Like you're parking it right there, and I have to get in and get it out of park and into first gear. I don't like my chances.
Damien?
No.
Just not.
Nope.
Would you even know how to start the car?
Yeah, 1,000%.
What do you do to start the car?
Like my dad, he had an old work truck and it was a stick, and I pushed that clutch down.
Okay, so you do have an inkling. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, he tried to teach me. It didn't go well.
Not
John?
great.
No.
I'm a definite no.
Have you ever driven a stick?
Nope.
Man, it's difficult.
You're the one I thought would be able to maybe handle this.
No, we grew up in Hoover. We didn't need them.
Do they even make stick shifts anymore?
I don't think so. Well, let me take that back. I bet
they do. I'm sure they do.
Well, I know they have the paddles on the the whatever.
Well, we all had that friend that's like, I'll never not drive a stick shift.
Yep.
Like I had a buddy that was like that.
You might not be able to find one.
I'm about to say no. I'll never not have one. Like I'm a stick shift man. I like to be in charge.
I almost feel like we need to bring them back because people are on their phone so much in cars.
Yeah.
If you had a stick shift, you just couldn't be on your phone.
That's actually not a bad call. What's funny is my buddy would he prided himself on being a stick shift guy. And it was loyal to the game.
It's an odd game to
It's a strange one. Man, he drove a Jeep, like a traditional two-door Jeep.
I want to control my torque.
It was a Wrangler. And no, it was a Cherokee or whatever. Like whatever the one is, you take the top off and the doors off. The doors were always off. Wrangler. All right. Anyways, he drove that. I swear to you, it had an i4 engine. That thing did not go more than 62 miles an hour. And here's the problem. Speed limit in Texas is 70. And in some places, 75. and we're going like 12 below the speed limit on the highway, and like people honking at us, like, dude. And Patrick's like putting his hand through the ceiling, like Jeep wave, like everybody in a Jeep waves to each other. Like, nobody cares, dude.
How'd you do that with all the ducks flying? Like, how were you able to drive?
I don't know, but
No,
those were the days.
All right, there's a couple more coming in on stick shifts via Twitter. We'll get to those on the other side next. Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Chris Carlisle tweets in 21 Mustang GT at Mac and Cube. They still make them. I found an article. Also, Maryland tweeting in. My brother got his first real income job. What's a fake income job?
right.
He bought a manual Porsche, and I learned quickly to drive it. Yes, I could complete that move. I'm kind of with Greg, though. Even if you know how to do it, having never been in said vehicle could greatly change it.
I think
some
that's
of those
the
clutches
problem.
have to go all the way to the floor. Some just barely needed to be halfway. And yeah, that would be a little bit of an issue.
It's a feel thing. It's not going to, right out of the gate, I'm telling you, up a hill, you park the car at the red light, you get in, you are now driving, and you have to start for the first time ever. Up the hill, I don't like my chances.
Trouble. Car and Driver, May 7th, 2024. Every new car you can still buy with a manual transmission. Acura Integra, Aston Martin Velour, which, by the way, is an incredible looking vehicle. BMW M2, M3, M4, Z4, Cadillac CT4V Blackwing, CT5V Blackwing, Chevy Camaro, Ford Mustang, Honda Civic, Hyundai Elantra, Kia Forte, Lotus Emira, Mazda 3. So basically the cast of the Fast and the Furious vehicles.
Yes.
Essentially. Good news, guys. The Mazda MX-5 Miata, you can still get it in a stick shift.
I felt good about that.
The Cooper Mini hardtop convertible. So not only Fast and Furious, but the movie in which Mark Wahlberg stole the gold
Italian
in Subway.
job.
Yes, or French Connection. Yeah.
Nissan Versa. What? Nissan Z, Porsche 718, Porsche 911, Subaru BRZ, Subaru WRX. So the entire Subaru alphabet, basically.
Off-roads.
Toyota GR86, Toyota GR Corolla, Toyota GR Supra, Volkswagen Golf.
What?
And Jetta. There you go. That's your list of cars you can still buy with a manual transmission, not transition. That was a poor transition to our next hour of radio. When we come back on the other side, we will talk a little bit more college football. 9 o'clock hour going to be saved for Bruce Feldman's top 25 players of the 2000s. But when we come back, what should the real expectation for the Auburn Tigers be this upcoming season? There's some confusion around it and some questions of it. Therefore, we will discuss it, and you can be a part of it right after this on Jocks 94.5. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Kulik in the morning, hour number 2 underway, Wednesday, May 21st, right here on Jocks 94.5. A lot of college football to get to. Nick Saban now has a Sports Emmy, Sports Outstanding Personality, Emerging On-Air Talent, Greg. So Nick Saban could add that list to his list of accomplishments.
Boom.
Got that going for him.
He's got that.
It is also being announced by or reported by The Athletic and the New York Times that Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson are engaged. She has allegedly told one person that. They also reported there that...
Was it Bill?
Not sure.
We're not sure if he told her
either.
We're not answering that question.
Also, they reported that the reason that the HBO Hard Knocks inside the North Carolina football program was canceled was because that she demanded partial ownership. Now, I need more details on this because I'm hoping she demanded partial ownership of HBO, the entire entity.
Yes, that
would
make
I actually
sense.
give her a lot of credit for that.
You got to ask. Worst they can say is no.
You can't get it if they don't ask for it. So, but yeah, we were talking vehicles, driving stick shifts. Damien, a lot of folks are chiming in via Twitter and via text.
Yeah, we have some people texting in 205-834-9450. Somebody texted in and says, back in 2012, 2013, my brother bought a manual Honda Fiat without knowing how to drive a stick. He learned in the parking lot. Now he has a manual Civic.
Can you imagine learning? Like you own the vehicle and then you have to go learn? Stalling out. Not fun. Not fun.
People texted in the Dodge Ram Charger.
Yeah, that was it. The Ram Charger, yeah.
And somebody texted in and said, y'all ever just sit and think about the 2016 Alabama defense?
Oh, yeah. Ryan Anderson, 19 tackles for loss. I think Tim Williams said 16. Jonathan Allen, Reuben Foster.
I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure I've thought about it recently.
Dalvin Tomlinson, vastly underrated on that defense. Rashawn Evans off the edge. Mika Fitzpatrick. Tony Brown's antics. It was fun. I mean, at least 3 times a week.
I got you.
Probably more.
Why not? Jonathan Allen, double-digit sacks for that group.
Yeah. They're dominant.
Fitzpatrick, 2 touchdowns off interceptions. I think Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Harrison, Eddie Jackson, Ryan Anderson all had pick sixes. All the time. Who doesn't is the real question.
Yes. Agreed.
Jonathan Allen, 2 scoop and score fumble return for touchdowns.
Yeah.
Ronnie Harrison, Tim Williams, Deron Payne all had fumble return touchdowns. That was the not defense, right?
Something like that.
Non-offensive touchdowns.
I was trying to think of what you were talking about. But yes.
Non-offensive touchdowns, almost as annoying as Ryan Williams being 17 years old that year.
No, come on.
The discussion around it.
Stop.
Yeah.
That was rock bottom in television.
But it was not just television. There were some folks in radio that felt like they had to talk about it every day also.
He's 17. Well, now he's 18. So
that's when you know you've done your homework.
I'm not talking about the nods. That time.
Oh.
Some people have to sit around and talk about that.
Somebody texted and says, yes, I sit around and think about the 15-16 defense.
You know it's not basketball, right? Is he talking about Alabama basketball 15-16 years?
I just read text messages.
We can reference it as 1 year.
Right.
The 15 defense or the 16 defense.
Maybe it means both.
Yeah,
there were some players that
Mo Williams, Colin Sexton. I don't know. Who was it? Herb Jones. Who was on that 15-16 Alabama basketball team that played good defense? I don't recall.
John Petty?
That I don't sit around and think about. John Petty did not play defense.
Why?
Spot shooter. Let's go to Ryan in Birmingham who wants to talk stick shifts. Who thought that would be a part of the conversation today? Ryan, welcome in.
Hey, guys. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I got a little hack for you. So anytime you're driving a manual, if you keep your foot on the brake and you slowly let the clutch out, when the car starts to bog down or die a little bit, that's your point of engaging. So you kind of cut off the 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot coming off the clutch. So you can switch from that point straight from the brake to the gas, and you'll get up the hill every time.
Okay, so go through that one more time so we can follow you here.
Yeah, so if you keep your right foot on the brake and with your left foot slowly let the clutch out, and once you get to the point where the car starts to bog down or die, that's kind of like your kill switch or your crucial point of giving it gas. So if you want, you don't have to start with such a long pull off your clutch. You can switch straight to the gas from there.
Do you have to floor it like I used to, or do you just slowly push the gas?
No, only if there's some Krispy Kreme up at the top of that hill. I'll get up that hill real fast, brother.
We'll make that happen too. All right, appreciate the call. There you go. Now you know, folks. Now you know exactly how to make it work. So I was not aware of that. Didn't even know. A lot of folks chiming in on the.
I honestly feel like I'm not great.
But I'm proud of you that you could even accomplish it, that you could do it. Like if you were in a tough situation, you could at least have a chance to get away from the Tyrannosaurus Rex if we were living Jurassic Park right now in that Jeep, which I do think was an automatic, by the way. Was it? Does it a stick or an automatic when they were trying to get away? I think people actually got mad at that.
It was
an automatic. It was
because
a stick?
Jeff Goldblum, he jumped towards the front because the T-Rex was coming at him. And it was like, oh, get off the stick.
Oh, you're right. Golf and Moose tweets in, I grew up in Mountain Brook, humble brag, and had a 5-speed truck.
Oh, God.
My dad made me stop halfway up our driveway, 35% incline at least, and be able to pull up the turnaround wheel spin before I could drive it around town.
I'm being honest.
Heel toe clutch work is a skill. Glad to have it. Yeah, if you're over the mountain driving a stick, you got to be able to work the red light stop signs on hills, or you're in trouble. If you lived at Greg's house, you're
done.
Like some of the driveways around over the mountain, like I don't know how
some
people had stick
Great
shifts.
for snow days, bad for stick shift.
Yes. But I'm just glad that some folks can do it. I'm really proud of Damien. Never thought that he would have said he could even have a chance at it. I thought he would ask what it was.
No. We grew up in the country, man. A bunch of folks had sticks.
I did have one guy tweet in talking about the stick shifts. The Unhipster tweets in, those old Chevy trucks with the column shift were tough. I've only attempted that one time. That's not easy. That did not go well for me. Because I think just having it up by the steering wheel on the column, that was so foreign with the clutch and then trying to, it didn't go well for me. Did not go well. Philip wants to chime in on stick shifts on hills. Welcome in, Philip.
I was just going to add on to the previous note. UPS drivers, we used to take a driving test in like an old 1960s UPS truck, no power steering, and they'd stop you on a hill right over there on Oxmoor.
Oh.
They'd say, pull the e-brake, and they'd say, now you got to start. If you roll back, you fail. And the whole job was to just go ahead and start it, keep your foot on the clutch, start letting go, keep your right foot on the gas, slowly start to feather it. And once you start to feel the truck move, that's when you let go of the e-brake and put it off, and then you just start going. Okay. So you can avoid your right foot on the brake, just keep it on the gas and just use the handbrake.
Are all those UPS trucks still stick shifts?
No, none of them are now.
Oh, okay.
New guys actually signed a paper saying I will never drive one.
Really?
Not gonna do
That's
it.
amazing. Love that.
Don't blame them. I mean, you imagine how many times you have to stop on hills and those things?
Yeah, you got to dig in.
All right, appreciate the call.
I went in. Yeah, have a good one.
That would make my route look very different. I think I would only go downhill.
That's it. And
always
just throw them out the side.
100%. If you live on the uphill side of my route, your stuff might be a little damaged upon arrival.
Kip tweets in, a caller explaining how to feather a clutch is annoying as Jim from Tuscaloosa. I mean, Garrett tweets in, the staunch amount of sarcasm towards the 16 Bama defense question. I'm proud of y'all. Well done. You tell me you don't sit around and think about it?
Right.
I think the real question here is how many people sit around and think of the 16-17 Alabama defense. I need to know that.
Maybe I've just lost perspective. I just have way too much going on with 6'3" and a 1-year-old and a wife and constant things going on around the house, and to just be sitting there waxing poetic and thinking happily about yesteryear's defense 9 years ago.
Ingram did average 0.9 steals per game for that group. So Braxton Key had 0.6 blocks per game.
Braxton Key.
Donta Hall and Jimmy Taylor both averaged over 1.4 blocks per game. So There was some defense being played there. I just don't sit around and think about it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we both have our basketball goals from Backyard Adventures, and I'm not out there like, Braxton Key, trying to block my son's shot.
Did you the Braxton Key to Mutombo? No, sir.
When my son's out there like, Steph, and I'm like, Dodger Hop!
Braxton Key. Oh, gosh.
No.
It doesn't happen for me.
Colin Sexton.
Swipe. Gotcha. Corbin Collins.
Corbin Collins.
Oh, my gosh.
Didn't happen that way. That's not the way it goes. I do feel like I have a little bit of an advantage. I will share this story with you guys. Back in my dumber years, I purchased a deuce and a half.
Come again?
You can Google it right now. Just Google deuce and a half. There was a guy out in Athens, Alabama that had a couple of these lined up on the
Did
side.
you have to use a fake ID to buy it?
Side of the road. Did not.
What?
I'll give you one guess at how much I got it for. And it was a 3-speed and was not easy to get in gear. I'll just say that.
The military truck?
That's it.
A 2.5 ton.
You bought one?
I owned one.
You owned one?
And
what was the gas mileage?
Not good.
A centimeter.
But then when I left, I asked the guy, I said, what does this even take? He goes, man, you put anything in there. He's like, you put water and alcohol in there, that thing will run. He's like, these things run in the desert for years. It'll be fine. He's like, diesel, regular, it don't matter. I was like, okay, if you say so.
All right, now I want one.
I did put, the first time I filled it up, I didn't even think about like, you don't have to fill up all the way. It got to like 150, 180. I'm like, I got to stop. Like, this is embarrassing.
We recently acquired some land, and I just don't think the land's complete without a deuce and a half on the.
I think you need one because the best part is the top comes off.
I want this one.
Like it is a convertible, basically. It was so much fun to drive. Like you were talking, the thing that made me think about it, Greg, is your buddy's Jeep that only went like 60. I bet this thing didn't go 50.
Under.
And we had it out on the interstate once or twice.
Why did you buy this?
Mine, Chris Coates. Because I got it for $1,200. Why would you not?
I mean, I would definitely for $1,200. I would absolutely
exactly.
buy it.
Why would you not? The best part is the reason I had to get rid of it.
They're 30 grand now. Oh, that's a Humvee. That's actually a good
the
buy.
original Hummers. Now, if you can find one of those, you're living right.
That's
Ron
a good
Williams
buy.
has one, and that's who actually I ended up selling this to Ron Williams.
God, I'm
Birmingham
buying
legend.
this. I'm 100% buying this.
The OG Hummer?
This is an absolute bona fide
How
lock.
much?
30.
That's it?
Yes. Look at this thing.
Yeah, that thing's sweet.
It looks like it's painted by a 7-year-old.
It doesn't
looks
matter.
like an art project.
Yeah, those original Hummers are incredible. If you can find one that runs and is put together right. So I lived in the Mayfair district of Huntsville, which was kind of like a lot of young folks, a lot of starter homes. I think my house was like under 2,000 square feet, like 1,700 square feet. It wasn't a big house at all. And I had this thing parked in the driveway.
If that's not on brand, I don't know what is.
And so I think we went about a month with it, and we would ride around. It was, I mean, dude, we just loved just getting out. Like Saturdays, Sundays, we would just go drive. Why not? And one day I come
Sounds
home.
like a great time.
I had a letter taped to my front door, and it was City of Huntsville, and there was some sort of an ordinance that said there was a weight restriction on vehicles that could be parked at your home in the neighborhood, which was a little bit ass backwards because there was a human.
So your car can't weigh more than your house? That was
probably that. But there was a person down the street from me that had not an RV, but a motorhome, and he parked it next to his house.
Mm-hmm.
And so my response to it was, why does this person get to have the motorhome down here? And then there was some rule about motorhome or something or other. So I had to go park it at my buddy's business. And then, if it's not sitting there, you don't drive it anymore. So I just ended up getting rid of it. But yeah, Ron Williams here in Birmingham has it. And also has one of those Hummers, which I want bad. But
this Hummer is extremely aggressive.
But why would you not buy that for $1,200?
You would. That's a lot.
One of the dumber purchases in my life. However,
but not really.
It paid for itself easily because the entertainment value was off the charts.
Cost per use.
I'd come outside and kids would just be climbing on it in the neighborhood. I'm like, just don't fall.
Just don't fall.
Not in my yard,
not liable.
at least.
Not liable. Sign the waiver, kid.
And it's pretty sweet.
So sweet, man.
I'm about to say it's pretty sweet. That's a pretty good buy. I'm kind of proud of you.
Oh, we took that out and we took it like down a couple of trails and we thought we were going to get stuck, not because the mud, like because we couldn't maneuver it.
I mean, this thing's 10 grand. That thing's like souped up.
That's like painted though and nice.
Yeah, this one's fancy.
Mine was a hunk of junk.
I don't want it
like
to be
the
nice.
best kind of hunk of junk you can imagine. It was so bad.
Is there a radio?
No.
You got to bring it with you?
Absolutely not. You don't want to listen to music riding that thing. You want to smell the fuel and listen to the sounds, listen to the roar.
Yeah, the
you
roar.
You want to hear that thing purr.
The roar.
You want to hear all the wood in the back rattle and metal rattle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's got the little wood boards going down the side. People are like, it doesn't have wood. I was like, yeah, it did.
I've gone down
wood benches.
such a rabbit hole.
This is wild.
All
Exotic
right.
car
Greg
traders. You can buy exotic car trader.
What prices are you seeing on deuce and a halfs out there?
There's no deuce and a halfs on there, but it took me down the Humvee rabbit hole, and now I'm on tanks. Who doesn't need that?
Has anybody else seen this place out in like on the way to Talladega where you can go like drive tanks around?
No, but
John,
I'll be there
that?
this weekend. Oh my gosh, look at this Humvee. It's yellow. It's like a beach rider.
No, but I'll be there this weekend.
I'm going. That is a bona fide. This thing's sweet.
Here's the thing. I don't want a Hummer looking like it's being driven in Miami. I want it to look like a Hummer.
It looks like it's like a beach. It's like a beach buggy with teak in the middle.
It does look like a beach. That's the Palm Springs Hummer. I don't want that. I want the Tallahassee Hummer. I want the Lochapoka Hummer.
I
want the Greenville Hummer.
You're a mess.
I don't want the Palm Springs Hummer. You can have your Beverly Hills Hummer. I don't want that. It's not what I need. I need one that when a tree's in the road, I can literally just run over it. Nothing's going to happen.
You don't think you could do it with that?
Yeah, but you'd scratch it up and all of a sudden you rip your leather seats and the whole deal. And like, oh, it's not nice. I don't want it nice. I want it rugged. I want to run stuff over, run through stuff. So the whole point of having a Hummer is not to tool around the streets of Mountain Brook or Palm Springs or Beverly Hills. You want to run over trees.
Yeah.
If a bear comes at you, you just run over him. You're not worried about it.
That's fair. You have me down a rabbit hole.
Okay. Well,
I love where we're at right now.
Since we've lost you, you can find a way to tell us about Bromberg's.
Well, I can tell you that buying some of these exotic cars probably not the best use of your funds, but going to Bromberg's buying a natural diamond, that's about as good as it gets. That's a protected purchase because Bromberg's only sells the best. Those natural diamonds are amazing. They're going to actually increase in value over the course of time, and the experience that you get when walking into Bromberg's and dealing with their outstanding sales staff is second to none. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about the second you walk in the door. It's wedding season. A lot of people are registered at Bromberg's. Highly recommend going over, checking out the registry. If you have a wedding coming up, their gifts that they have available are beautiful. That's where we buy all of our gifts for people that are getting hitched here this summer. Highly recommend going in and checking them out. You're going to buy something that's going to last in your family for multiple generations. You're going to be appreciative of the experience you have along the way. So go and check out Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit.
All right, when we come back, we will talk expectations for Auburn football right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. What should the expectation be for the Auburn football team this upcoming season? That's made a lot of noise the last couple of weeks, last couple of days around sports media discussing the Auburn Tigers. Hugh Freeze last week was on with the War Report, and our guy Mike Giddens had this to say about pressure and expectations this upcoming season.
I honestly don't feel pressure a whole lot, but I'm a realist, and there's no way in the world that anyone can sit in this chair and think that our fans should expect anything more than a leap in year 3. And so if that brings pressure to somebody, or I'm happy with those expectations, that means we've done something to give them excitement and to believe that it can happen. I believe it can happen. And so I don't call it pressure. I just think, man, it's the reasonable expectation. I think reasonable expectations in year 1 were something. I think reasonable expectations in year 2 were something. I don't think we met them because of the things we just talked about. Year 3, I think there should be even more expectations. Right. And so I'm good with that and happy to carry that weight, if you call it, along with our other coaches and our players.
So you hear him discuss the pressure, Greg, the expectations that he feels like are there. I think some things that Hugh Freeze has said in the last week or so have been taken out of context. I think he fully understands that the expectation is not just to win 6 games. The expectation is not to go to a decent bowl game. The expectation is to compete with the top of the SEC and win a championship. Is it problematic that Hugh Freeze is not out tooting the horn of we should be competing to win an SEC championship this year? Do fans really expect him to say that? Because then what are they going to say this time next year when that doesn't happen?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but I do know that it's kind of refreshing to hear him discuss the expectation. You know what I mean? As opposed to downplaying it. No, we're still building, and oh, we don't have the roster, and oh, we're young. Like all the normal things that coaches say in the off season. It's kind of refreshing to actually hear authenticity and acknowledging that, hey, we need to win this year. You know what I mean? I mean, that's rare, I feel like, don't you say?
Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like I almost never hear that.
So also Hugh Freeze discussing why he's not going to put a number on their expectations this season.
Is it 7 wins? Is it 8 wins? Is it 9 wins?
Yeah.
Making a bowl game?
Man, I don't ever I hate to put a win total out there or anything because you have no idea what's going to happen in these games against other really good teams.
But you can't miss a bowl game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we for certainly we should be bowl eligible. Mm-hmm. All right, but you know, hopefully it's more. So
stop there. I mean, I think that's enough where people are taking that and they're running with it, and that's Mike Giddens in the War Report. You can find them on YouTube. That's where we took that audio from. We appreciate Mike always. He does a great job. I don't understand why people are taking that and saying that Hugh Freeze believes that making a bowl, any bowl, only a bowl is acceptable for him and his team this year. Is that what you took from that?
Kind of. But I also think that that's not necessarily realistic. Do you agree? Like, I feel like certain levels of bowls are a little bit different.
No doubt. But I think what's been taken from that, the context that the general public is taking from this, Greg, is that Hugh Freeze would be satisfied with a 6-win season going to the Meineke Car Care Bowl.
I don't think that's necessarily the case, though. I don't interpret it that way.
Damian, is that what you heard there?
No, I think like at the floor should be them making a bowl game.
John, is that what you heard there?
That's what I heard. What Damian said, that the expectation, certainly the expectations are 6 wins, that we should be in a bowl game. That's where 100%. He believes the expectations are.
But that's
there's a staircase to goals. There's a staircase to expectations, and there are minute goals on each stair on the way to what you want to try to accomplish every year. Like, I don't understand why people are frustrated with Hugh Freeze for not coming out and saying right now, by God, we're a playoff team.
So people are frustrated. I'm having a hard time
figuring out the
frustrations.
People are hearing this and saying, why is Hugh Freeze satisfied with just getting to a bowl?
See, like, I don't interpret it that way.
All right, 800-239-9569. There's a lot of people that have.
But the way I interpret it is more along the lines of the absolute, it's more of an acknowledgement of their shortcomings last year than it is an expectation setting moment for the upcoming season and for the future of Auburn football. Like the fact that we didn't make a bowl game last year was an utter failure is basically an acknowledgement. That's how I interpret that. Like the bare minimum for this program is a bowl game every year. That's the way I hear it.
Okay.
I don't know if you hear it that way.
I don't, but I'm interested why people do. And I'm interested if people feel that it's problematic what he's saying here. Play the second clip one more time, please, John. Just that Hugh Freeze discussing kind of putting a number on the expectations.
Is it 7 wins? Is it 8 wins? Is it 9 wins?
Yeah.
Like in a bowl game?
Man, I don't ever I hate to put a win total out there or anything because you have no idea what's going to happen in these games against other really good teams.
But you can't miss a bowl game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we for certainly we should be bowl eligible. Mm-hmm. All right, but hopefully it's more.
So I feel like a lot of people are taking certain comments from Hugh in the last week or so and painting the picture that if we're bowl eligible, it's all good. And he didn't say that. He hasn't said that. I think that to get to where you're going, you would be bowl eligible. I almost think it's caught him by surprise in having to reference being bowl eligible and that might be what some people look at as a successful season. I don't think there's any part of him that sits there and says, if we're 500 and we're in the Birmingham Bowl, yeehaw. It's not real. I don't think that's real.
I don't hear it that way at all. It was, first of all, it's leading questions. So they're leading questions. And you're never supposed to lead the witness, first and foremost. All right. So it's a poor interview. Secondly, what I would say is the person that's asking the questions is the one that's essentially saying, well, you can't miss a bowl game. And Hugh's acknowledging, yeah, obviously. And that's in reference to last year. It has nothing to do with the upcoming and setting expectations in the future.
And the number game happens a lot. I'll be completely honest. I am asked that question in reference to Auburn, in reference to Florida, in reference to Arkansas the last couple of years, hundreds of times on different platforms and different shows. And I will never do it. I will never put a number on a team's success. I will never say Billy Napier has to win 8. Hugh Freeze has to win 9. Sam Pittman has to win 7. Because there's so many intricacies of how a season can go, how games can look. I think most fans, maybe not fanatics, but fans are intelligent enough and have enough common sense to look at teams that were more talented or just flat better than them, and you were competitive with them and had chances in said games, and it just didn't happen, that's not a complete failure by a coach and by a team. Now, when there's an L next to it, there's a lot of people that are going to not be able to take a single positive thing away from it. But I can look at a 7-6 season. I can look at a 6-6 season. I can look at a team that wins 5 games and say, no, they're heading in the right direction. They're doing the right things. They just need this and this. Or look how much better they got from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. There's a lot to be happy about, and there's a lot of positive there. I can also look at some 8 and 9 win teams and say, yeah, but a lot of people don't want to have that conversation. They don't like that conversation as to how you won, who you won against. I mean, somebody goes up there and throws you 6 interceptions. Yeah, you got them, but at the same time, that was egregious play calling.
Yeah.
That could have been mitigated early on in that game, and it wasn't.
Right. It's a little bit like when Rory McIlroy won the Masters. Like, okay, Rory McIlroy won the Masters, and he deserves immense credit, but he about screwed it up 17 different times. You know what I mean? Like, you can still win and look awful in the process, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I think that's why when you look at a program, and we say this all the time and people don't want to hear it because we've had a lot of ridiculousness put into the world of you are what your record says you are. That's not true. Like a team's quality is not exclusively measured by wins and losses. A team's quality is measured by what their potential is, what they're capable of. Do they hit their ceiling? Do they max out? Because let's be real. Like, if you look at some teams, the expectation levels are different in other places, but there are a lot of teams that should feel really proud of the seasons they have, and they win 4 games. I mean, and I know people say, well, they're bowl eligible, for Akron. If Akron wins 4, that's incredible. You know what I mean? And they might become the best version of themselves and win 2. I mean, that's okay. because everybody's a little bit different. But I just don't think it's ever fair to define a team by wins and losses. I've always said that. I think it's a dumb way of evaluating programs because not all schedules are the same, not all circumstances are the same, and not all teams are created equal based exclusively on what their record says they are.
So let's try to best define what would be success for Auburn this upcoming season. What would be acceptable, considered successful for the Auburn football team, football program. Another thing that is not necessarily predictable or the same is weather in the state of Alabama. That's why you need the reliability of a Trane, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand right now. Receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. Find out more at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a Trane. What would you deem as a successful season for the Auburn football team this year? We're not just going to put numbers on. It's not just going to be record. Is it certain games against opponents that need to be won? Is it improvement in certain areas of the football team? We'll try to put it all together and paint that picture best we can with your help. 800-239-9569. You can text into the show 205-834-9450. Tweet in at Mac and Cube, and we'll finish that conversation next on Jocks 94.5. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Kubick in the morning, 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. What should the Auburn fan base expect from the football team this season? What would be acceptable? Now, we're not just going to necessarily try to put a number on this. We're not just going to necessarily look at this from the standpoint of they have to get to this amount of wins or go to this specific bowl game or anything of that nature. Might not even be specific wins, because I think there are variables to all of this. I think you can move these goalposts a lot of different ways to find things that are going to be deemed as acceptable. 800-239-WJOX. You want to get in on this conversation, you can also text into the show, 205-834-9450. Tweet into the show, at Mac and Cube. The expectation for Auburn, some of the things that Hugh Freeze has recently said. Royal Payne tweets in, the best example I can think of what Cole is talking about is the LSU South Carolina game last year. It's a great example of that. Would you have 2 defensive touchdowns called back because of penalties? One, which was an egregious call. I know you don't agree with it because you say by rule he hit the player in the back, which I'm not 100% sure of. But either way, South Carolina did the things necessary to win that game. They just didn't get the calls to allow them to do it. That would be one exactly how I was referencing. Rod tweets in that Hugh Freeze is on record of saying, I'm not a fool. I know we have to go to a bowl game. And he keeps saying it that way. What he means could be another thing. He probably needs to be clearer. If a coach says, I know I need to go to a bowl game, does that mean that they are stating, I need to be 6-6 and get to the Liberty Bowl? Is that what they're saying? Is that the way you interpret that?
No. I think in order to maintain job security, the bare minimum is getting to the bowl game. That's an acknowledgement of fact and a referendum on the 2024 season more than a expectation set for 2025 and beyond. Listen, I don't understand why people are struggling with this.
And I'm not excusing everything that Coach Freeze has said. You could go back to the interview with Mike, actually, and there are a couple of things there that I have absolutely zero time for. None had to do with this, by the way. But just don't need things that just don't need to be said. Just don't need to be verbalized. Just stop. And just put a period at the end of things before you get to those other things. But this is not one of them. I just think that people are losing sight of the fact that a bowl game, getting bowl eligible, things of that nature, that's all in the pathway of your goals. So you include those things.
Correct.
I mean, it's kind of like in Greg's era and in my era. The SEC championship game was considered somewhat bigger than the playoff or a national championship game or a BCS championship game, because if you didn't go and win that, you could forget the other stuff.
Correct.
You had to get there first.
Correct.
So you probably heard some coaches reference that game that way.
And
people would say, well, we're going to a BCS. Well, if I don't go to Atlanta and beat Florida or Tennessee or whoever it's going to be, then forget it. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to go on and tell everybody a little secret. In 2008, 9, 10, we celebrated the 6th win in the locker room post game. It was mentioned and acknowledged by coach.
It's a milestone.
That is the first line in which something has been accomplished that year. Mm-hmm. Now, was it obvious we were going to a bowl game? Obviously. Yeah, and if we didn't get the 6th win by week 6, then something was also strangely up. But that was an acknowledgement post-game. Hey, guys, postseason bound. Congrats. We celebrated that. It was a big deal. It mattered. So just because that is the first hurdle you have to clear doesn't mean that's the only hurdle you're aiming for. I don't know.
So what's acceptable for Auburn this year? How do we paint that picture? Obviously improvement, and that's going to come in the form of wins. Number one, no doubt about that. It's going to have to be bowl eligible, but not just 6. I'm going to say it too, but I don't mean stopping at 6. I mean 7, 8, 9, get into a pretty good bowl game, a better bowl game. Not that they were in one last year, but that comes with the territory is what I'm saying. So maybe I even say it wrong where people can't get it and understand it. What else will you look at from this season, Greg, that will make Auburn's season satisfactory, or it should for Auburn fans when they're watching their team? Going above 5-7 is obvious. That's number one. And I don't think people are going to look at 6-6 and say, yeah, we're better. We're going to a bowl this year. That's not, like you said, that's going to be a milestone along the way that needs to be crossed and will probably be celebrated to an extent. I'm not saying that they're going to go roll tumors in extra time, but it's got to get there to get to the other things that you want. So it is in front of you. What are some markers for you for Auburn this season that should be there for people to look at it as a successful year?
I don't love putting numbers on it. I really don't.
And I'm not asking you to. I said it. We're not going to do that.
My biggest thing for Auburn this year is quit gift wrapping games and giving them away. Like, stop. Like, I'm fine if you lose to Bama. I'm fine if you lose to Georgia. And frankly, I'm fine if you lose a couple others. But the ones you're supposed to win, win. That's progress. Because when was the last time Auburn took care of business against teams they should beat? For an entire season.
Oh, for an entire season. That's
an entire season. I'm talking like they actually beat all the teams on their schedule that they were favored against.
2010?
Maybe.
Yeah.
2013? Perhaps.
Yeah, because you didn't have carry on in the SEC championship game, so
they were.
I don't know. 17. I'm thinking 17.
I don't think they were favored in that game.
I was going to say 17.
But beside the point, like, when was the last time Auburn?
Still, you had LSU on the ropes in 17 and didn't do it. So
when was the last time they won all the games that they were supposed to win in a season? Seriously, I mean, I don't recall the last time that happened, because last year, let's be real. Last year, let's go through it, and I know we don't need to revisit this, but you lose to Cal, have no business losing to Cal. You lose to Arkansas because you're still panicked about what transpired against Cal. You gift wrap the game and give it to Oklahoma. You can't lose 3 games at home. You just can't do it. Like, that cannot happen under any circumstances. I'm fine if you lose at Georgia. I'm fine if you lose at Missouri. I'm fine if you lose at Bama.
But they had Missouri. They had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter.
I can live with those losses. What I can't live with is losing to a team that you should beat by double digits. That can't happen. I'm fine if you lose to Penn State the previous year. I'm fine if you lose at Georgia. I'm fine if you lose at Ole Miss. You can't lose and give up 40 in the process to Arkansas in 2022. You just can't. That cannot happen. Because the thing that irritates me about Auburn, at least these last 5, 6, 7 years, it's like you'll have those games where you beat A&M, a good A&M team with Robbie Ashford throwing for 60 yards. And then you get your doors blown off and get 50 hung on you by Bama the following week. Like, what the heck is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the ebbs and flows in performance is just very, very frustrating.
So you would maybe say, not all of it, but portion of it would be game management and how games are handled. But that's not all. I think people hear that and they think that's play calling and situational play calling. But some of that is also knowing when to protect the football, knowing when to hand the football off, knowing when to maybe back off coverage a little bit, things of that nature.
So if we're going to go through
it's not all going for it on 4th down or punt field goal decision.
No. If we're going to go through their schedule this year, like, if we're really going to go through it, like, ideal scenario, well, ideal, not necessarily. Ideal's winning the SEC, making the playoff. That's ideal scenario, perfect situation. But I think a tremendous sign of growth in this program would be beating Baylor on the road, starting 3-0 by beating Ball State and South Alabama, and leaving no doubt in those games too would be a kind of refreshing, because when was the last time I feel like Auburn played against a team like South, who's pretty decent, and beat them by 50? You know, it might have been year 1 of the Brian Harsin era, I feel like, when they didn't kind of ebb and flow to the level of their competition. If you lose at Oklahoma, I can live with that. You can lose at A&M, I can live with that. You can lose to Georgia, I can live with that. But you got to win at home against Kentucky. You got to win at home against Missouri. You know, you got to go and beat Vanderbilt on the road. Like, you got to do these things. And that, to me, is progress. If they're 8-4, great, but they better have beaten the 8 teams that they're supposed to beat. And if they pick one off that they're not supposed to win, that's bonus.
You need to see more performances like they had against Kentucky last year. That doesn't need to be a one-off.
Correct. Right. Yes.
Where there's no doubt that you're the more dominant team and you essentially do what you want in that game. And part of that is because of the plan you put in place. And part of that's because you have better players and you're a better team. That needs to happen more often. And the reality right now is that probably can't happen against Georgia. That probably can't happen against Oklahoma. There's a great chance that won't happen against A&M. Missouri, Vanderbilt, it'll be a little bit tougher. I don't have high expectations really for Kentucky this year, so maybe it happens against them again. But I think you're heading down the right path. Damien, what did Greg not say that maybe for you would stick out as to this needs to take place for Auburn to have a successful football season?
No, I think he hit the nail right on the head. And just the way, like you said, you have to leave no doubt against teams that you're better than. And also, like you said, game management, not turning the ball over and things like that. So I agree with everything Greg said.
The thing about Auburn this year that will be frustrating. Watch. This is what will happen. They'll lose to Baylor. I'm just saying this is like typical. Will they lose to Baylor? Maybe not. All right. They'll lose at A&M and they'll beat Georgia. They'll lose at Arkansas and then, beat Missouri. It's just like I feel like that's kind of been the MO. Like they'll pull a spoiler. Like last year beating A&M was amazing. That was a great performance. And then you lose to Vandy. You know what I mean? It's like, I hope that doesn't happen this year, but that's kind of been par for the course.
I do kind of see where you're going. Joel tweets in the show, Cole, Coach Freeze has been around long enough to know, quote, bowl eligible today with 43 bowls is a joke. He's smarter than that.
When asked specifically about bowl games.
But however, I am smart enough to hear his answers and know that he doesn't mean, by God, if we just get to 6, everything will be right in the world. I'm smart enough to know that's not what he meant. But everybody else can take that from it if they want. And everybody else can think that that's the smart way to interpret what he said there. I don't think that's what he meant. 800-239-9569. We'll continue this conversation on the other side right here on Jocks 94.5. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. We'll take your calls here in a moment. 800-239-9569. Talking Auburn expectations this upcoming season. First, Greg, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Well, Polar Bear Services is amazing. They're actually en route to my house right now. They've done so many things for me around the home. I've always been very grateful to the experience I've had when working with Weston and the guys at Polar Bear Services. They've added plumbing. That's what they're actually helping me out with at my home. They've always been great from an electrical standpoint. They can do small appliance repair. They just do everything. That's what I appreciate so much about using Polar Bear Services. They also are the specialists when it comes to the HVAC system. You want to make sure you get out in front of the hot weather months that are coming, the hot days that are coming. Your HVAC system could go on the blink at a moment's notice, so make sure you get a system checkup from Polar Bear Services. Go and check them out today. And remember, if you have a problem with plumbing, electrical, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. That's 497-BEAR.
All right, we'll continue talking expectations for Auburn, what they should be this upcoming season. Trying not to necessarily put a number on it, yet Maryland tweets in 8 wins at least. Okay, so 8 wins minimum right there. So, some folks are going to put it at a number. Some folks are going to say, you got to get Georgia or Bama. Is that fair to say that?
I think it is.
Rich wants to chime in on Auburn's season and what would make it successful. Welcome into the show, Rich.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
Y'all were talking about this. Excuse me, I apologize. And I had to call in. Obviously, y'all said not necessarily put a number on us. I'm going to put a number on. I'm going to say 8 to 9 wins, or next year he should be told he's on the hot seat. I think, when you look at, let's not even look at the fan base perspective. Let's look at the alumni base perspective, the ones that are paying money for these players. Do you think they're going to keep paying money for these players and getting them what he needs with poor or less than expectations? I don't think they are. I think at some point they're going to start giving money to get these players in if he can't even win with what he's got.
So you're saying it should be 8 or 9?
I think to keep his job, I think it should be 8 or 9. And he's going to have to beat. Is going to have at least, I would say, minimum 8. And he's going to have to at least beat one of the rivals. I think Auburn fans are sick and tired of continuously losing to Alabama, Georgia, LSU constantly.
Well, LSU not on the schedule, so it's...
Well, okay, Georgia
Ryan
and
Harsin
Alabama.
beat LSU.
Get him out of here.
Y'all ran
Did he
him.
score more in the second half, though?
That's more than Freeze has done. I mean, you can say what you want, but that's the truth.
Rich, I'm going to ask you a serious question right now.
Sure. 100%.
And this is one that I've thought of. Does he have to beat Vanderbilt this year?
If he doesn't beat Vanderbilt, I think he's cooked.
I don't think it's a joke. I mean,
No.
To me,
no,
that's
it's
one
not.
that I look at as an Auburn fan, as an Auburn alum, as an Auburn letterman, saying, I think you need to get that game. And that's not because that's not the Rick Trickett theory. Thanks for calling in, Rich. I appreciate your time. It's not the Rick Trickett theory where we walk to the whiteboard and we say, here's what we're going to do for this game. Y'all's Auburn, and he writes it on one side of the board, and then he writes Vanderbilt on this other, and then it's Vanderbilt. You ought to beat them. That's it. That's what it is. I'm not even saying it because of that. I'm saying it because of how it's gone the last couple of years. And that includes kind of the hybrid Vanderbilt, which was New Mexico State. Am I crazy for saying that way?
I don't think so.
No.
And I don't even mean it as far as the historical prominence of the two programs. I just mean what that group has done to that staff in recent memory, It needs to change. That needs to go the other way. And it's on the road late in the year. But we'll go through the schedule in our next hour. But first, Bruce Feldman's going to be with us to talk top 25 players of the 2000s. His article up now. We'll get his thoughts next. efforting Bruce Feldman to have him on and discuss his article up now at The Athletic, top 25 players of the 2000s. That top of the list is going to be a little interesting for folks. I was interested in our previous caller, Greg, saying that if Freeze does not win 8 or 9, you pick, that the administration needs to let him know he's on the hot seat.
They put out like a...
How does that conversation go?
Well, do you put out like a memo?
An all points bulletin?
I just don't.
Is that going to make the bottom line on ESPN? Hot seat engaged. The pilot is lit.
My question is, who determines the hot seat?
Who puts him on it?
I think the check writers are the ones that determine the hot seat, and they're the ones that are fully behind him. So I don't think he's in jeopardy outside of a complete and utter failure this year. I don't think there's any jeopardy of him being relieved of his duties. I think he's done a pretty good job. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure. I think last year there was 3 or 4 very disappointing performances, but for the most part, I think they're poised to take a big step this year. So I'm optimistic about him.
All right. We'll continue that conversation. Want to bring in Bruce Feldman of Fox Sports and The Athletic to have a different conversation, one that still may involve Auburn, though, Bruce, and that is your article up now at The Athletic, the top 25 players of the 2000s. You put a lot of work into this, talked to a lot of people about it. What was the most surprising thing you heard or learned about one of the players that made your list?
Ooh, good question. I think it was just how many either TV analysts or scouts or different people who were like, Reggie's the guy. Reggie Bush is the guy. And what surprised me a little bit, knowing some of those people pretty well, or some people I've worked with, was these are people who actually may not even like Reggie from their own dealings with him, but they're like, he was the best player. It was interesting to me just because I know how some of them maybe, kind of feel about him. And sometimes those opinions kind of seep into maybe how they actually think of somebody's, merits. But he was so special that for most people I talked to, it was like he was by far the number one guy. And initially in my mind, I was like, all right, I'm going to probably have Ndamukong Suh second. And maybe Reggie is like 4th or 5th. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to defer to a lot of the people who are just like weighing in about, because I would say, Christian McCaffrey was really special. I'm like, yeah, he was, but Reggie was different. It was all kind of that. So just that there was so much support for Reggie Bush from the experts I talked to.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would push back on that whatsoever. But what all went into it? Because the number one player is Cam Newton, and I don't think anyone would really push back, but it was one season. How much did you factor in the amount of time spent as a starter at whatever place they were at? Because Jaden Daniels on there for 2 different schools and 4 years of what he accomplished. Was it kind of based on your ceiling? How did you kind of factor all that in?
I really use Greg just in terms of greatest in my head as who is the greatest player. So I'm looking at what was the best, the best year you had. I'm not saying body of work didn't matter. Tim Tebow was more of a body of work guy. But, look, Joe Burrow, to me, LSU had the greatest offense I've ever seen in college football. Joe Burrow couldn't get on the field at Ohio State. And then his first year at LSU, he was good, but they weren't anything like what they were in 2019. But to me, what I still think of him, you remember him at his best. And, you guys have both had your own, unique connections to Cam and Auburn, and that, like, I don't know. I was blown away by what he did with the players around him. And look, Nick Fairley was a terrific college player, but relative to the teams who were winning national titles and putting up, like what Cam did was just remarkable to me. And I think that's the part that was really something that just stood out, because you're also looking at guys who maybe have a body of work And then you're looking at other guys where, it was maybe one great year, and maybe they only played 2 years. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu only played 2 years at LSU, but I just remember how impactful he was, how unique of a player he was. And to me, it's different than like the NFL where guys can play for a long time. I just think it's like greatest to me is like, what, and again, these seasons are longer. So it wasn't like, hey, this guy had one great game. It wasn't, I'm not saying diminishing Tavon Austin, but if I was going to judge like what was the most awesome performance, like Tavon Austin against Oklahoma's up there. But it's different than some of these other things. Like that was for me how I looked at it. I looked at it as more like when they were at their best.
Can I credit
how great was that?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Bruce. I apologize.
No, I was just gonna say like when they were at their best, how great was their great?
I would also like to commend you for having Quentin Nelson at 25. I don't know how many people you talked to that threw him in the mix or wanted him on the list, but as somebody that if I would have had a Heisman vote would have been number one on that ballot, that I don't think it would have been wrong to take him with the number one pick. That's how good of a player he was in college. Greg rolls his eyes, but that's where I was on him. So thank you. Thank you for at least
right guard's a big deal.
I'm going to defer to our mutual friend, Aaron Taylor. Aaron and I work together at CBS. He knows
Notre Dame homer
about. Well, I said to him, I'll tell you this behind the sausage here. I said, hey, I got Joe Thomas, I got Penei Sewell, I got Bryant McKinney. I forgot who the other one was. And for him, it came down to Penei Sewell or Quentin Nelson. He explained to me his rationale, and I'm going to defer to him on that.
My rationale would be put the bowl game on against LSU and look what he did to multiple number one draft picks on that defense. And that's about all you need to see. So, Greg.
Check the tape.
Floor is yours.
What has been the biggest point of contention? I would imagine Tebow at 8 would be somewhat controversial. I actually kind of agree with it. I think it's about right. Vince Young, I would imagine probably a little controversial. He was at 7, I believe. Andrew Luck, to me, there's nobody that I think played the game at a higher level with all due respect, pretty average supporting cast.
We've got a couple into the show, Bruce, and it's Manziel not being on the list. How does that happen?
Man. That was it. And you know what's funny is I spent more time around Johnny than I probably did almost anybody on that list. Maybe anybody, because I was like worked on a QB book, and it was really the last year of Johnny there. And Johnny was awesome. And I don't, because he was awesome in terms of like they had a top 5 season. When did that happen in the previous 49 years or so at Texas A&M? And it's hard to keep the list to 25. I probably should have had him on. That's the one where I was like, yeah, maybe I overthought this, to be honest. I don't know. It's because it was 2 great years. They were wild and tumultuous, but honestly, Cam's great year was wild and tumultuous. Tyrann Mathieu was 2. I don't know. That was the one I was like, because people would say to me, because I went to my editor and I was like, is there anything obvious you're missing or you think I'm missing here? And he was like, Adrian Peterson. And I was like, I get into Adrian Peterson. I start thinking like Saquon was awesome. And I was around Saquon and covered him more than I did Adrian Peterson. But, it's hard to keep the list of 25. Johnny is the one where I was like, yeah, I would have probably redid that part at the end. And I don't think I would have bumped Quentin Nelson. So then do I bump Tyrann Mathieu or I don't know. That was the tough one for me.
The duration of it makes it tough. Like you look at that 1 year Quinnen Williams had at Alabama and you could probably say he might deserve to be on this list just because it was that good. He was that unstoppable. He was a guy that nobody could do anything about. So there were different factors that had to go into it in different ways. Whose mind or what player in your mind changed the most on your perception of them? Maybe you thought they were the greatest thing ever, and now, okay, maybe I was a little overacted a little bit, or didn't think as highly of them after all the people you talked to, and you put them in a different category today.
It's actually, Greg mentioned it a minute ago. Like I started out with Andrew Luck in the 20s, and then the more people I talked to, our friend Stanford Steve, we talked about how he kind of changed that program. Now Stanford football stinks again, but the fact that they went, a big part of that was Harbaugh. but also it was him. He was a guy who helped change the perception of that program and it happened pretty fast. And obviously, to me, that if you were in that moment when Harbaugh got there, again, a lot of it was Harbaugh, but like Pete Carroll was the powerhouse on the West Coast. They went after it, and then in middle of his career, they're winning BCS bowls, and top recruits are wanting to go there. So I would say, he was one for me that I kept on bumping him up higher and higher the more people I had conversations with that I respected. And I was like, yeah, that's one I think that he needs to be in the top 15, not like 24.
Monster. Absolute monster. The best, I think the best and most talented quarterback I've ever seen as far as just a complete freak.
He was good. He was really good at everything, right? He was a
unbelievable
guy who could run, who was accurate, super smart, super cerebral.
He was unbelievable.
He checked off every box in a resounding way. He
was absolutely incredible. A couple defensive linemen that made the list. I was kind of intrigued because Terrell Suggs is not a guy he came in at number 10, and he was not a guy that garnered a ton of attention.
Nobody
I feel like
saw
in
him.
college.
Nobody saw him play. Those games weren't even on television then. He's playing at midnight.
Yeah,
oh my gosh! Why? What is wrong?
I'm just letting you know.
Why do you have to take shots?
That's not a shot.
I'm just
that's one of the reasons. Like that was right before Pac-12 After Dark got cool, and I mean, I would love to do a study, Bruce, of when his games were even on and what networks they were on.
Go look at this came up last night on that The Athletic has an offsite right now. Last night we were in the bar and we were talking. People were looking up what was that on Versus? Was that on TBS? Was that Fox Sports Net? I'm sure Petros was doing a bunch of those games. It was like, was anybody watching? You might not have heard them. You might have seen them in a sports bar late at night. That was the deal. But the sack numbers he put up were insane. It was almost from the moment he got there, he was super productive. And I asked Rick Neuheisel about him because he had a game where he just couldn't block him, and he was like, "Man, I had that kid coming on a recruiting visit, and our admissions people were like, yeah, I don't know if we can take him." And then all of a sudden, he has like 4.5 sacks and 6 TFLs against them. And that's what he did to almost everybody.
Was there how much did you take into account supporting cast? Because that's what I think separates Andrew Luck a little bit. I mean, he just didn't have anyone else around him. Terrell Suggs, I think, would be somewhat comparable, with all due respect to the supporting cast that Lamar Jackson had at Louisville. The guy was honestly almost by himself.
It's the worst offensive line for any Heisman Trophy winner I've ever seen.
The guy was absolutely absurd. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And yet, Joe Burrow sits at 4. And I'm not sure there's ever been a quarterback that has ever taken the field with a better supporting cast than Joe Burrow. It was absurd with what he had in Jamar Chase and what he had in Justin Jefferson, who are two of the best players, not just in college, but now have transcended even in the NFL. So how much did you factor in supporting cast?
A lot, because that helped cement. And look, I had some, I leaned on Cole for some of this too when it came to Cam. And I knew, it was Nick Fairley. And then again, I'm not knocking Lee Zemba. There were really good college players, but in terms of like who's winning national titles, the supporting cast, like Vince Young had some elite guys around him. He was amazing, but there was also like that secondary was loaded. There were some good linemen on that team. But you said it about Greg when you're talking about Lamar. I mean, Des Fitzpatrick got drafted later, a couple of years later. They were not like great skill guys. The offensive line, as Cole said, was atrocious. And he almost beat that Clemson team that won the national title. I don't want to say almost beat them single-handedly, but they were leading Clemson in 2016. They ended up losing, I think it was 42-36. They were leading that game late in the fourth quarter. Again, that was a national title team. And he did some amazing things. And look, he's doing it in the NFL. And obviously he's got Derrick Henry and really good players on defense, but that guy is an awesome player. And I think in the case of like what I give Joe Burrow credit, and again, some of this is like maybe because I spent so much time around that team in their national title run, but there was never been a high level quarterback who was more coach on the field than what I saw from Joe Burrow. I know how much Ogeron leaned on him for so many decisions and managing the locker room and all that. But yes, I mean, like you said, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he didn't have a great NFL career, hasn't. He was a really, really excellent college running back, especially for the system they ran. I mean, they changed so much schematically because, hey, this is what Joe likes. Like, if you go back and remember, your alma mater took it to them really, really in his first year as a starter. They couldn't get anybody open. He was holding the ball. It was like, hey, I want everybody out, kind of thing. And that's why I had him so high up there. Yeah, he did have great weapons around him. Yeah, they did cater the system to him, but they catered the system to him because it was like he told them what he needed and they listened to him. And so it's hard. You're trying to manage or balance players who maybe didn't have much around them. They put it on their back as opposed to some guys who were perfect fits and elevated everybody around them.
Bruce, it's great.
The coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. Thank you so much for hopping on with us. Really cool to just kind of talk to you about the process of going about this, how you came up with some of the guys that were on it, where they were, and then some of the guys that weren't. We'll share it from our account and let the folks go read it. Appreciate you taking some time today.
I appreciate you guys. Okay, see you soon.
Thanks, Bruce. Bruce Feldman joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Interesting conversation. Greatest players of the 2000s. We'll share some of our thoughts on the other side. First, I want to tell you about Game Day Men's Health. Share thoughts with you on if you're feeling maybe like brain fog is a problem for you, if you're lacking sleep, if you're lacking energy, Game Day Men's Health can help you. Could be low testosterone, could be some other things. Maybe you just need to get some weight off. They have multiple weight loss programs they can help you with there. Peptides in stock now for anti-aging, better sleep, appetite suppressant. They can help with all that there through the peptide program that they have. Holistic approach to health and wellness. Minimal upfront cost for the programs that they offer. All you have to do is go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, set up a free consultation, you get the free PSA test, free testosterone test, and they're going to know where you stand right then and there. Mention Mac and Cube, save 10% on anything that they do. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Who would be number one for us on this list? You can also share with us who would be number one for you. 800-239-9569. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. We'll discuss it right after this on Jocks 94.5. All right, 9:21 a.m. Jocks 94.5 set to get first pitch going at the Hoover Met. Texas A&M, Mississippi State. I'm going to get it going first off. We're watching the SEC Network do some interviews with players on the field before the game and just kind of running through some of the messaging there. What do we think that is? We're going to play Bulldog baseball.
It just takes one. It just takes one. And, when bats have been getting hot.
Well, it's a hitter's park, guys, so we're going to go out there and we'll try to hit. That's what we're going to try to do.
And you know what the best thing is? We got Jimmy on the bump, and we're going to pick him up. And that's, he's going to be out there, and he's going to be throwing strikes, and we feel really good about getting them behind the count early. And if they hit it hard, we're going to make a play for them.
I'll tell you, number one thing we got to do today, we got to hit the baseball. If we hit the baseball, we're going to be fine. We got to hit the baseball, and then the next thing we got to do is run the bases. We run them bases, we're going to be good. I think that's number one, number two for us today.
I think the big thing is we got to get some good at bats early. We got to see pitches early. And then if we can see pitches early, I think that'll give us a good chance of hitting the ball.
I would agree. We got to see the ball, hit the ball, run after we hit the ball. I tell you what the main thing is, we're locked in right now. I told them at the team hotel, put the phones away, get your tweets out the way, text your girlfriend, and that's what we did. We got locked in on that bus ride over here. Now, it took 3.5 minutes, but we got locked in during them 3.5 minutes. And we're going to go out there and play Mississippi State baseball today. We play Mississippi State baseball, we're going to win. We play Mississippi State baseball, we're going to win this game today. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
And the other thing, too, what I like about this team is we got a bunch of guys that are hungry. We got a bunch of guys that feel like there's still a lot to accomplish in this season.
It's all in front of us right now.
Everything's in front of us. Everything is in front of us. I know we've played 61 games, but actually everything is in front of us right now. And I think the best part is we play this game here at 9:30 Central, and I know that God's going to give us the power to wake up early today and hit the ball hard somewhere. I know that. And I know this team and their approach here in the last 37 minutes since their alarm went off at 8:45 local, I know those 37 minutes have been spent thinking about hitting the ball hard and backing up our pitcher.
Well, I'm going to tell you two things about this Aggie baseball team. Number one, is you say challenge today against Mississippi State. It's not a challenge. It's an opportunity for our baseball team right now. It's not a challenge. This is an opportunity for us to prove where we are, where we need to be. Number three, ain't nobody worried about going out tonight because it's 9:30 in the morning. All right? So we're locked in because all the going out tonight and what's going to happen later tonight in Hoover and City of Birmingham, we ain't even thinking about that right now. We got fresh chalk on the baselines. It's a hitter's park. We hadn't washed our hats in 7 years. We're going to go out here and win a baseball game.
And hey, we're going to go through the lineup here. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to give it to the other coach, and I'm going to let him know that we're going to play baseball the right way today.
Better throw strikes. That's what I'm going to tell him.
And I want to remind everybody here at the Hoover Metropolitan, there are no sunflower seeds or tobacco products used on the field. Okay. Now Zens are fine. Now just don't let them see you.
Synthetic. Can't test for it.
Can't test it. All right. Now you
tell you
guys,
what we need today. We need a good approach from our batters. We need a good approach at the plate is what we need, and we're going to take care of business. We play Aggie baseball, and we ain't going to lose this game. That's what needs to happen. We got to throw strikes, and we got to have a good approach at the plate. Be patient, but yet be aggressive.
Yeah, we got Big Jimmy on the bump here, Doc. Yep.
I've never seen this in my life.
Hey, you're looking good here, Bob. You're looking good, babe.
The whole bullpen is lined up down the bullpen watching Ryan Prager warm up. Now, Ryan's 3-4 in the year, but I tell you what he does do is he can get good velocity on his fastball. Mississippi State struggled with that a little bit of time, so we're going to try to put that fastball over the plate. That's what I told him pregame. Ryan, ball over plate. If we do that today, we're in good shape.
I've realized
no balls in the dirt.
I thought that was a coach. That was amazing. Back to what
that
we were
basically you, Greg, Scholar Athlete of the Year.
Back to what we was talking about. He won. Oh, he's the pitcher. So the coach had to accept it on his behalf.
He did look a little old.
I was going to say he looked a little old. The funny thing that I've noticed about baseball And this has been this way since I was coming up as a young buck playing GBBA over the mountain. Baseball,
with my black pearl bat.
a lot of things change. Okay, a lot of things change in sports, and we've now seen guys adjust. And things have to adjust because the modern athlete's different today than it was in the day. But one thing that hadn't changed is baseball haircuts. They get worse every year. As long as I got this little flippy flow out the back of my hat, I can hit the ball hard. And I know that. But what I've come to find out is I can't take the field without me a dang necklace. I need a necklace and a wristband.
Well, if you think you can win with one, you're wrong.
No. Heavier.
It's got to be rope necklace, fake diamond pearl necklace, and numbered necklace. Maybe team logo chain. But I tell you, we're going to go out there today. We're going to run 90 feet because I don't care how high the fence is here. I don't care how many logos they got out there. How many them trees out in right field don't matter. And I know they took that basketball goal down for $5,000 in right field. Should have kept it up. But I'll tell you this. Don't matter which one of these towns you go to, it's 90 feet. That's what I tell my kids. It's 90 feet.
It's all the same.
That don't change.
It's all the same. And the best thing is, they
put their pants on one leg at a time.
I've been telling the boys this all season.
90 feet.
I've been telling the boys this all season long. It's one pitch at a time. We're gonna win this game one pitch at a time. Now, that's on. Hey, that's at the plate, and that's in the field.
We ain't winning innings out here.
No.
This ain't the Savannah Bananas.
This game's gonna be won by the team that takes it one pitch at a time, one play at a time. If we play it that way, we're gonna give ourselves a great chance today, boys. All right.
Just lock in on that rubber, throw strikes. Have a good approach at the plate. Like Coach said, one pitch at a time. Be patient yet aggressive, and we're gonna win this. But we're gonna win this ball game. I love it.
Great job, guys.
Coaches are the best. Man.
They're the best.
Great job.
It's the most. I mean, it's amazing to me. Baseball coaches really are the best. They are. They're the best. They're the coolest guys. They're the most fun to hang out with, and all the messaging in baseball is the same.
I think they know they have the least control of it.
They have no control.
Like, just get out there and play, guys. Hey, guys, good luck.
Guys, go do your best. They're the coolest guys. They're the most fun to hang out with.
Here's your advice to your cleanup hitter. Get up there, get a rip, Jimmy.
Hey, takes one now.
Here's your advice to your fastest player when he gets on first. Get us a steal there, Billy.
Hey, hey, you're gonna go first to third today now, aren't you?
Here's your advice to your best pitcher. Get up there and get over the plate, Mark. Come on. I'm sorry, Mark is not a today's baseball player name. It'd be more like
Kalen, Braden.
Yeah. I gotta stop there.
Hayden.
I've seen some Haydens, some young MLB Hagens.
Hagen?
Hagen
like
and Hayden.
Walter Hagen?
Both. Hagen and Hayden.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Like,
you know what would be a great practice one day? How many first names, both male and female, are extinct? Who was the last Betty you met?
Not enough. Betty?
Betty?
Like as in Betty Crocker?
Sure.
If that's your go-to,
there's a restaurant.
Betty Boop.
Betty White was right there, but that's
Betty Boop.
Okay. Who's the last Reuben you met?
Reuben?
I think stuttered. They stopped. Literally, that was it.
That's the only
My grandfather's name was Reuben.
I don't know. All I can ever think about I
got another one for you. Who's the last Tom you met? The youngest Tom you met.
Well, none of us know how old the heart is, so.
I assume 63.
That's about the line.
70.
No,
right
I got
there.
Meredith's cousin's name Tom.
How old?
34.
He's the youngest on earth.
Gertrude.
Gertrude.
Dead.
Yeah.
Never
Gone.
met one.
Literally right there next to Triceratops in the ground. It's not a real name anymore.
Actually, Gertie was
Sylvia.
Gertie is a
The last
family.
Sylvia you met. My grandmother's name is Sylvia.
Yeah.
Gertrude is a family name, and Gertie was in the mix for my daughter.
But probably as
Not from me.
Probably
my
as a
wife.
middle name called something different.
She'd go by Gertie.
Yeah.
It was in the mix early until
What
I
else?
squashed it.
What else is out there that's extinct?
I don't know.
Like, I feel like now I know there's a lot of people our age, but of the younger generation, names like Brian. Do you see a lot of younger Brians?
No, there's a ton of. I knew a bunch of Brian's
I
growing
had
up.
a ton, like your
A
age,
bunch,
my age,
yeah.
our age, all. But
Yeah,
now,
I
like
don't know about
Brian's like
younger Brian.
dead now. Like nobody.
See, but it always comes back around. Like it always comes back around. But I'm trying to think of like another name that I haven't heard in a while.
Blanche.
I never met one.
Like my daughter's name's May, but I feel like May went away for a long time.
Yeah. How many Harrys are there now?
I know a bunch of Harrys.
Harry Styles.
The younger ones though, he's probably the youngest one.
The youngest one.
I know.
Is that his real name?
I know a Harris. I know a Harry. Young.
But are they more Harry and not Harold?
The other one that's extremely popular, I feel like amongst the young generation.
I have the top 10 of both, male, female. I'm gonna see if this is in the top 10.
I feel like Jack.
2024.
Jack has been very popular in the last 10 years, and I love that name. I think Jack's a great
James
name.
is in there.
James.
Now I was like, James is kind of an older one that has come back.
Yeah, my son's
Henry,
name
I think, is an older one that's coming back.
James has been used. James has been used for females now too. So James has now transcended both male and female. It can go both ways.
What isn't there a model named James King, female? Something.
I feel like James is a very popular middle name. I want to say like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively named their daughter something James, like Lily James or something like that, and that became a very popular name.
Most popular baby names for 2024. I'll give you those on the other side next. Mac and Cube in the morning. Notre Dame's 2026 opener against Wisconsin at Lambeau Field has been moved to week 1, Sunday, September 6th, part of Labor Day weekend. So that's an extra Sunday game, Greg. You've talked about There's a bigger window there to be taken advantage of, and now it looks like the Irish are going to do it.
We should have a triple header there every year. It should be big, big, big. So hopefully we continue to lean into that Sunday because it's the one Sunday a year where it's a holiday weekend and we can go wall to wall. It should be a noon, a 3:30, and a 7 every single year.
So we're going to be talking some baby names here, and something that you and your family go through to choose. You might have to wait for it, but one thing you never have to wait for is your dental care.
That's because Family Care Dental has you taken care of. They're the urgent care office where you can be seen the same day in several locations to make it easy on you. Their teeth whitening, free teeth whitening comes now with a routine appointment. They can get you in today. They can get you in Fridays and Saturdays. And most insurance plans are accepted. They're in 5 locations in Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and Trustful. So call Family Care Dental to book your appointment today. 874-9605. That's Family Care Dental. 874-9605.
Most popular baby names of 2024. How many do you think you could get on each list? Top 10.
I think I could probably do okay. I had a baby in 2024, so I think I'd have a chance.
Go for it.
I didn't have a baby. My wife had the baby. Yeah. Just want to make sure we clarify that. Olivia.
Number 1 female.
Yes.
Okay.
Jack.
No, but asterisk, I'll say.
Jackson.
No, there's a James at 5, and I do think some people name their children James and call them Jack.
Yes, that's accurate. So let's say James. I know James. Liam.
Number 1 on the male list.
Yeah. That's been a popular one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say
I'll say this.
Elizabeth.
The male list is more surprising than the female list here. There's no Elizabeth, no.
Let's say Sophia.
Twice. PH and F, both on the list.
Boom. Wow. Hammer time. Let's go with William.
Number 10 on the male.
Let's go with
name list.
John or Jonathan.
Neither made the list.
Let's go with Thomas.
Did not make the list. Liam, Noah, Oliver, Theodore,
Teddy. That's
James,
a popular one.
That would be Theodore.
Yes, a lot named Theodore shortened to Teddy.
Henry.
That's
a resurge.
That's been a big one.
Matteo.
Didn't see that one. A lot of babies in Italy last year.
Elijah, Lucas, William. Female names: Olivia, Emma, Amelia, Charlotte, Mia, Sophia.
Charlotte should have gotten that.
Isabella, Evelyn, Ava, Sophia again.
Wow, no Jaden or Jalen.
Nope, not yet.
Not Jay.
A little early.
So it's coming back around?
Yes.
Okay.
Here is a list from Babbel.com. 1923 to 2023. Once ubiquitous first names that are now extinct. Ready? Arnold, Bernard, Bill, Billy, Cecil, Chester, Clarence, Clifford, Dale, Earl, Elmer, Ernest, Floyd, Fred, Glenn, Herbert, Herman, Lester, Lloyd, Milton, Norman, Ralph, Vernon, Virgil, and Willard. There's some in there that are gone.
Elmer's the first name. It ain't a glue.
I don't know when we'll get another Elmer. First name. I think next in line there will probably be like a Willard. I don't know when we're going to get another Willard.
Yeah.
Maybe Vernon or Milton. Well behind there.
Milton as a first name?
Yep. McGregor. All right, on the female side, girls' names. Agnes, Ann. Ann is one it's added to now, but a very popular name at one point that is just literally gone. Bernice, Bertha, Bessie, Betty, Dolores, Doris, Edna, Ethel, Geraldine, Gertrude. These are great. Gladys, Ida, Jean, Juanita, Lois, Lorraine, Marion, Majorie, Mildred, Minnie, Myrtle, Norma, Patricia, Pauline, Phyllis, Rita, Shirley, Thelma, Viola, Wanda, Willie, and Wilma. basically the entire cast of Scooby-Doo has
More or less, yeah.
been extinct.
That or Flintstones, yeah.
Somebody just texted in. Says my first name is Ernest and I'm 27 years old.
I love it.
Wow. I know what you mean, Vern.
It's
Okay.
sweet. You got a throwback name.
Yeah.
It's legit. I like it. Some of these are not coming back. I don't know of a female named Willie.
Don't either, no.
No.
Do you think Karen will eventually end up on that list?
Oh, boy.
I don't know many young Karens.
I don't know any young ones.
And given its connotation now?
It's kind of like Katie. My age, Katie, everywhere.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a below 25 Katie. I don't know if that exists. Other than somebody that woke up from a coma.
Somebody
Parent
texted
or
in.
the child?
Somebody texted in and says, why is Cole naming hurricanes?
They do feel like they go back to the old school names that are not used anymore often.
Maybe that's for the best then.
Yeah.
Don't need Juanita out here wreaking havoc.
Well, I'll tell you the good news, guys. Ryan's got that curveball going today. When he's got that curveball going, he keeps some hitters off balance, and they're not able to lock in and drive that baseball. That's good news for our baseball club. Good news for our club. All right, we'll be back right after this. Speaking of names, so far in this inning at the SEC baseball tournament, we've seen Gehrig and Ace up to bat.
There's some baseball names.
We also just saw Mississippi State lay down a bunt. I'll tell you one thing about my ball club. We ain't afraid to play small ball. How many bunts over under this weekend at the SEC tournament? 2.5. Over under.
Over.
I'll take the over.
Over?
Yeah.
Really?
Heck, we just got one.
Single elimination?
We just got one.
I think there'll definitely be some small ball.
Tell you what we do. We put the ball in play.
We just want to move runners over, get them in his position.
Scoring position, baby.
Now we got 2 whacks at it to get them home now.
Hey, so we got to run on second here. I need you to put this ball in play, kid. So I need you to lock in, see the ball, drive the ball.
Hey, leave it up there. Leave it up there.
Just change his eye line, but you almost gave him a haircut too.
That ain't your pitch.
A couple tweets coming into the show. AC tweets in, I'd like it known that Greg's baseball dad coach voice drifted into Uncle Si from Duck Dynasty there at the end. Also, Garrett Anderson tweets in, Greg's baseball coach voice sounds like every middle school principal in Texas.
My Southern voice does have a Texas twinge. I'm definitely got to. You can take the boy out of Texas, but you can't take the Texas out of the boy.
Kip tweets in, my mother and my oldest daughter's name is, sorry, I just updated and completely went away from me there. So I lost it. Is Elise after Beethoven's, how do you pronounce that?
Fior.
Oh, exactly what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle tweets in, can you imagine the president in 2060 named Braxton, Zephyr, Jackson, or Jaxley?
Ladies and gentlemen, your president,
and now
Jackson Vanderbilt.
Now we got a Noah up to bat, which was on our list, was it not?
Yep.
There we go. Currently no score at the Hoover Met. Bottom first, 2 outs. Runner on second for the Bulldogs. See if they can get one through. 0-2 count. Not looking great as A&M has looked fairly sharp on the mound thus far. Something else that's happening in the world of sports that we do need to discuss for just a moment. Do you want to talk lawsuit versus the NCAA or flag football in the Olympics?
Let's go flag football in the Olympics.
For 200.
Because I could care less.
I know. That's why I chose it.
Will NFL players actually play?
Absolutely.
Yes. Get the chance to be an Olympian?
Come on now.
Done.
Okay, then who's going to be our best bet?
To play flag football in the Olympics?
Jalen Waddle.
I'm going to say Tyreek Hill.
On speed.
Here's the question.
Jeremiah Smith?
Oh, man. Oh.
I don't know what in professional flag football, whatever that is, what is most desired? What is most needed? Is it short area quickness? Because I'm thinking physicality, probably not up top on that list there.
No Fred Warners.
We don't need Christian Okoye.
Can he rush the passer?
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, I don't think you just sit back there.
You need,
but think about
better get the ball
speed,
out.
Yeah.
Right. So if we think Von Miller, but that's not like Tyreek Hill might be the best pass rusher you could have based on how you rush the passer in flag football. I don't know these things. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Like Caleb Downs?
No.
Too aggressive.
I think if you go someone to rush the passer, Tyreek Hill could also rush the passer.
Mm-hmm. You didn't go to the flag football game at the World
Games? I missed it.
Yeah, hey. Norway was pretty good.
Did you go to Life Saving?
No.
Okay.
I missed that one.
Well, then don't hate on me for not going to flag football.
Do you think the owners will let the players actually go?
Probably the back.
They voted that they
might not
could.
be their choice. Yeah, I think,
but they may also be like, if Mahomes like, hey, I want to go. Like, sorry, buddy.
I think Roger Goodell wants him to. I think he wants to market his brand of football, and this is an easy way to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many guys are going to want to, honestly. You guys think that NFL players are going to want? I mean, I know, Greg, you say, yeah, you're an Olympian, this and that. I mean, first off, take everybody in a contract year, and they're out.
Sure.
Done. So Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, maybe in.
Well, you got
who in flag football, Greg? Who would you want as your quarterback?
Well, if you can rush,
how important is running?
If you can rush
the passer,
if you can rush the passer, I want Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Okay.
And we got gold.
We
got gold.
Can the quarterback run?
I think so.
Oh,
we got gold. You can put Will Levis out there, and we bring it home gold.
Pick sixes don't count for us. That goes for the other team.
Like you want quick, like the quick guys, because you can play. Because there's not quote unquote set positions. I guess you would say. Like, I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick.
There's not like
great.
a tight end or a receiver or running back. It's just guys that can run routes.
Mm-hmm. Just get open, green grass.
So what receivers do we want? Do we need Jamar Chase?
1,000%.
Like you said,
Justin
Waddle,
Jefferson.
Hill.
Yeah. You put Devontae Smith out there. If you just want a big body, A.J. Brown.
We might just need like Mike Evans. I know he's a little older, but just lob it. Who's stopping Mike Evans in flag football?
Ain't many stopping him in real football.
Fair. Totally fair.
I mean,
Jaden Daniels at quarterback, too.
That could be good. Jaden or Lamar?
Lamar.
I'm probably taking Lamar.
Yeah. A little quicker. I don't think you can go wrong, though.
Saquon in the backfield.
Bama
but
Posey
power
tweets
doesn't
in, you got to
matter.
watch these flag football guys sliding and spinning to keep from getting their flag pulled.
Yeah, it's not
Kenny Pickett then.
It's not real football. Love that.
All right, so like Dante Hall would have dominated flag football is what you're telling me. So we need guys like that. So we need Shifty. So now how does that change who we want?
I mean, you're going to have 8 slot receivers.
Ricky Pearsall, Ladd McConkey, Cooper DeJean.
Can you block?
Do you need to block?
Not for them.
I mean,
can you have do you have one lineman?
What I remember in the World Games, there was one like center essentially, but he's more. You can't.
They're doing it sideways. That's not even really count.
Right. So
I'm not giving credit for that.
You got a quick twitch, the guy. Yeah,
that's more of a snapper than a center.
Yeah, snapper.
All right, I want to know. Like,
either way, we're winning gold. Like, there's no chance.
See, I disagree.
We're winning gold.
I think that there are going to be technicalities with this that other countries have been focusing on longer, and those teams have been playing together forever. And we're going to try to. This is not going to be no different than basketball. We're going to try to throw some guys out there because we think, oh, we'll just moss everybody, and they're going to understand the intricacies of it. And it might not go well. It might go well. I haven't seen enough of it to know either way. I don't even know how it works. I know you throw and catch, and you intercept, and you pull flags. Other than that, I don't know. But you say you're calling gold right now.
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay.
USA versus everybody.
There are no offensive or defensive linemen on either team.
Fun.
And games will take place on a field that is 50 yards long and 25 wide.
Oh, yeah.
12-player maximum.
Yeah. Ladd McConkey and those guys, they're about to eat. This is what they do. Deebo Samuel. Oh.
If McCaffrey is healthy.
Each team's defense can have a maximum of 2 blitzers that they may rush the quarterback directly so long as all parts of their bodies are more than 7 yards from the line of scrimmage before the snap.
So you're giving Lamar Jackson 7 before you can. Yeah, bro, we're getting gold.
There's no way anybody's pulling Lamar Jackson's flags with a 7-yard head start.
We put Peyton Thorne out there. We're getting gold. Jarquez Hunter.
Do you go RPO? What kind of offense you running?
I don't.
Even like the wishbone.
No, Colby into this. Scoring is essentially the same as standard American football, though no kicks are allowed. Touchdown is 6 points. It's basically it's UFL. The offense can then, once they score a touchdown, 1 point try from the 5-yard line or 2 point from the 10.
Oh, we going for 2.
So let me ask you a serious question: is Travis Hunter a lock for this if he wants to do it?
Oh yeah.
Since you're going to have
there's only 12
players?
guys, probably.
Oh yeah.
He'd be good too.
Saquon.
Yeah. Bijan Robinson.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
1,000%.
Who do we want like defensive specialists though? Marlon Humphrey.
Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
Actually, Trevon Diggs would be great in this too.
I mean, you need somebody though with like, I don't know. Do you need pass rush skills for this? You just run at the guy.
No, I don't think you need to swim move
you just
against
need speed
nobody.
and change of direction is all you need for this.
Yeah.
We don't need no Shamar Turner. No,
so I don't know who falls into that category best defensively. But who are the college guys outside of Jeremiah Smith that
you're
think
gonna have
could be really good?
You're gonna have 6 cover. You're gonna have 6 cover guys. There's no linebackers. There's no safeties. You're gonna have 6 corners, 6 of the best corners in the world.
We're locked.
Be fascinating to see who they choose.
Try to tell you guys, what we don't need to do is fall down in the outfield. We're trying to field fly balls,
guys.
We're giving up bases.
I rotate them hips.
You just putting a runner scoring position, and now you're making it hard on my bullpen.
Now we can bunt them over, get a ball in the air, and we got one.
We might hit the over on bunts in this game. Individually.
Oh, he slipped on the warning track. Oh no!
God, that grass looks perfect. Look at that.
It does.
It's beautiful. I just want to go lay down in that grass.
Oh no! Whoa. Oh, he almost caught it. Still, that would have been a heck of a catch.
He did almost catch it. Would have been a heck of a grab.
Unbelievable.
Tell our listeners about Shannara Florin.
They're the best. Fu has built his company on on a foundation of integrity and trust, and you'll understand why when you have them out to your house and you see just how respectful they are of your home and how respectful they are of your preferences. You can go and see that 40,000 square feet of Core-Tech flooring in stock by Shaw. That's waterproof, and it's truly amazing. It's pet-proof, waterproof, kid-proof. It's pretty much, you name it, you can install it anywhere in your home. It's going to add value to your home or business. So if you're thinking about making some changes to your floors, call who? Call Foo. Call them at 205-518-6423. You can go online at fooandyou.com.
I'll leave you guys with this for today. Stephen Howland tweets in, the names no longer used sounded like the waiting list at the Golden Corral. That's good. We're back tomorrow.